So I'm gonna go through. Trying to get into this Ben Shapiro. This is supposed to start in a while. So we're gonna grab Ben Shapiro's timeline really quick, and then we're gonna bring up the where is it? Oh, he tweets so much. Why can't I just see his actual fucking tweets? Oh, there we go. Got it. So this is the timeline so far from Ben Shapiro's side, from the Daily Wire. And then apparently in about 5 minutes, Steven's supposed to go live with Tim Pool to set the record straight. So far, what's happened so far is that basically Steven Crowder came out with a bombshell saying that the Daily Wire is basically part of Big Con. Well, he didn't say it directly. He said a company was part of Big Con and they're trying to scam you and they're trying to do these things. And he showed a contract. He showed what he called a contract that was offered to him that had stipulations that if you got banned off YouTube or restricted off YouTube or demonetized off YouTube, plus a bunch of other things, Apple, Spotify, Facebook, whatever, if you got restricted on these platforms, you would have your pay or your fee deducted by a percentage. Essentially, to my knowledge, what this means is that he was offered $30 million, whatever. $30 million even though he wants $30 million a year. I think it was a $30 million or $50 million over 4 years. Something. It was like $10 million a year, 10 point something, a million a year. And essentially, you would get your pay. Every video had a price to it because the fee was per, like you would have like something, you would have an X number of videos in the contract. Now, technically, I'm going a little bit too far. This is what Jeremy Boring, the guy from the Daily Wire, the co-creator of the Daily Wire, was saying this stuff. But to get back onto Steven's thing just first is that because then we'll read it through here, is that basically you would get a fee, you get a penalty every time these things happen. He didn't give any of the money away, you just get a fee. So obviously it seems like it's bad, like, oh, but as we'll see in this timeline, if you've seen that video, go check it out, or don't, I don't know, we might go over it after, I just don't have enough time, but we'll see from Ben Shapiro, this is his timeline of things. It's nasty to attack my company and Daily Wire Plus hosts as a big con by lying about the meaning of a non-binding term sheet. So Crowder called it a contract, an official contract given to him. Ben Shapiro's calling it a non-binding term sheet, which to my knowledge is just like the first offer you give to somebody. It's just not like, it's just like a, hey, this is our basic thing and we can go from here, we can negotiate from here. It's despicable to plan weeks in advance to attack my best friend and your friend by setting up and secretly taping a phone call, all to grow your email list. Here's the timeline. Prior to October 5th, Steven's agent requested we send an offer. October 5, we submit a non-binding term sheet. November 2nd, Steven tells Jeremy he wants $30 million a year and us to send him a new offer, refusing to redline the term sheet. Now, to my knowledge of what redlining means, and I'm pretty sure this is him, like redlining in my industry of engineering and stuff like that, is that you have a drawing and you redline it, you change things on it, essentially. And I believe that's the same thing here. You scratch out this term, you say, oh, hey, we're already demonetized on YouTube, let's redline that, and we'll change the fee here. Maybe you give me a lower amount up front, or we work something out so that I still get the same amount because I'm basically permanently demonetized on YouTube. This isn't going to work. We got to redline this. We got to figure something else out. Maybe you redline yourself and you add whatever you want. That's what redlining typically means. You're just changing things by writing in industry for drawings. It's literally writing in red pen. Maybe you could do the same thing on this document. It's a digital document. Anyways, it's just the meaning of changing things. So if that's true, that basically means that Steven Crowder got an offer sheet and just didn't do any negotiation whatsoever and claimed it was Big Con. November 14th, we told Steven we couldn't do that. Steven apparently registered December 12th. Steven apparently registered stopbigcon.com, knowing he's leaving the Blaze, and that we haven't provided him an offer to his liking. Steven needed a plan. Attacking us was that plan, or was the plan. December 15th, Steven announces he's leaving the Blaze. January 7th, Steven texts Jeremy in friendly fashion to ask if they can talk. January 9th, Steven calls Jeremy and secretly tapes him. I would go over that a few times. Maybe I'll boot it up. Hold on, let's go get that quick. Jeremy call. Okay. Oh yeah, it's here. I forgot. Yeah, and it's just the worst video ever. So we have that loaded up, but we'll see where that goes. Let's also do this so that it's actually working. Yeah, all my audio is getting ready to go. So he secretly tapes him, and in my opinion, the video doesn't look that great. It doesn't seem like Jeremy Boring did anything wrong. It seems like they're just having normal conversation, or at least a normal conversation between friends. And maybe it's a slightly weird conversation if this is a random person that you're offering a contract to. But this isn't a random. Obviously, that's just me being hardcore copium. Like, that's me being super, super, super generous to Steven. This means 96 days elapsed between when he received the term sheet and when he secretly taped Jeremy. And it means that 36 days elapsed between when he decided to attack the Daily Wire and Jeremy by purchasing Stop Big Con, when he called Jeremy to tape him. Gross. So literally sitting on this for months. Like, it just seems like from this timeline, it seems like it's a big op to grow his page. One more, if you actually care about the supposedly horrific non-binding first offer term sheet offering $50 million over 4 years. Okay, I was right. Jeremy reads it line by line here. We'll load that up too. It is a quick. Then load it. Oh, no,
all right.
It is quite simple. If your show loses money, you lose money. This is how capitalism works. I agree with this wholeheartedly, and from everything I've seen so far, it does just seem like a very stereotypical standard offer sheet of like, hey, like the only things that might be constrained is weird. So the basics is very fundamental. Okay, if you get demonetized on a platform, you're not making money from that video anymore. How am I supposed to pay you? Is the general question. How am I supposed to pay you, Steven, if you aren't making money? If you're not making money, how am I supposed to pay you? Is the question you ask Steven. And then you can try to figure that out where you go, oh, okay, well, if I'm demonetized on these things, we got our Mug Club, and as long as I move more subscribers to Mug Club, we make more money off of Mug Club, and then that's where a lot of my revenue generates from is Mug Club. And then we can use that as a major generating source, and we try to move things over to there as much as possible. Or we try to, like, yeah, and then, but anyways. That's just been negotiating stuff. You know who this is? Steven Crowder. That's why he has a piss off YouTube segment in which he deliberately does not say things that will get him kicked off YouTube and directs people behind his paywall. He must be a shill for YouTube or something. Oh yeah, true, yeah. The other thing is that, like, the whole shtick is that you push people off of YouTube onto other platforms so that you can talk to them for whatever you want to say, because YouTube is like, this is the game. You know, if you're demonetized, you have to negotiate that and figure out other ways of doing it. You can still post on YouTube, you just can't make money off YouTube. So how are you going to make your money? You push them off site to a subscription base. I don't know what we can go through first. That's 52 minutes. This is just waiting for that to start. We're going to go through this, I guess, if we can. This is so cringe.
They don't get deals that...
They can be wage slaves for a little bit, come over and make a salary and grow their brand. They can be wage slaves for a little bit. They can be wage slaves for a little bit.
God bless the talk boy. Those things are worth like $5,000 now. It's an expensive gag. So didn't want to have to do this, but
1.5.
Daily Wire outed themselves very, very quickly. And sure enough, if you see all of the people who work there, some of whom I have relationships with, they immediately tried to make this all about money. Here's the problem. There are a few problems.
Well, isn't everything about money? I don't want to cut them off too early, but isn't like literally everything you do about money because you're capitalists, right? Am I wrong?
And I'll go through.
It's a job offer. It is actually all about money. This is a business. I'm not even to bring capitalism or whatever the fuck. At the end of the day, it's all about money. You're being hired for something. What is it charity?
Everything that was said about negotiations, how they transpired, beyond the numerical value, which is true, and I'll get to, everything else is untrue. I don't really want to get into that. It's completely irrelevant. Here's why. Go back to the 20-something minute video, 30-minute video. You've never heard me say or write anywhere online that these offers weren't paying enough money. Why? Because it's not about the money. It's kind of unreal to me that the only thing these people can still talk about is the money, the conversation.
Well, so then why do you... Okay. God, I should just let it play. But if it's not about the money, then why do you care about the demonetization thing? That's just an obvious... Is that not an obvious thing? If you're not bringing in money, how am I supposed to pay you for the money you didn't bring in?
Conversation was about conservatism.
The basic thing that Jeremy brought up, Jeremy Boring, the other video we have, is that if Steven's video brings in $2 and we have a contract that he gets $1 of every $2 that's earned, but that video gets demonetized and it doesn't earn the $2, how am I supposed to give you the $1?
The movement and big tech, they keep talking about money. I'm talking about a country. I'm talking about a movement. I'm talking about making a difference. It's not about the money, and Jeremy and the Daily Wire know that. How do I know they know that? Because after...
But what's... why didn't you redline it? I'm just going to let it play. Fuck.
According to what he said, I walked away from the offer. I did place one more call to the Daily Wire, and I made it very, very clear that it wasn't about money. That was not the topic of conversation. There was zero, as they've tried to portray this, miscommunication. It was one last call where the only thing that I asked for,
because we'll get on a lot of what he's saying, a lot of the nitpicks I have, Jeremy actually brings up.
Demand was their word, and not even for me, but for other people coming up facing these kinds of contracts. Let's say Taquito comes in with 500,000 YouTube subscribers or something like that, 100,000. Let's say some other kid you're paying 6 figures to come in and do it. There's not the penalty of the demonetization or if they're removed from iTunes, Apple, YouTube.
Yeah, sure there would be.
And here's something else.
So let's just go over this one more time.
Kid, you're paying these kinds of contracts.
Hold on, let's bring it normal speed.
Let's say Taquito comes in with 500,000 YouTube subscribers or something like that, 100,000. Let's say some other kid you're paying 6 figures to come in and do it. There's
Why are you playing him talking so fast? Well, I'm just trying to get through the video. Bonehead.
There's not the penalty of the
1.5 speed.
Demonetization or if they're removed from iTunes, Apple, YouTube.
Yeah, sure there would be.
So all he's saying here is that if you bring in a brand new person, let's say there's some kid out there. I don't even know why this is a thing. I don't know if it gets into it more. But so Steven's $50 million contract, he's now boiled it down to like, oh, what if you brought in a newcomer? Would they be afflicted with the same penalties? And naturally, you would have to, like, yeah, of course, because the same thing still applies. If that 500K person isn't bringing in as much money as Steven Crowder is, it's not going to be 100% scalable. But the gist of it would be that, again, if that channel brings in $2 and the agreement is that they'll get $1 for every $2 they bring in, and their channel doesn't bring in that $2, how am I supposed to pay you your $1? That's still the basic of it, what's happening. Like, how are you supposed to pay that person if they don't bring in any money?
And here's something else. I was also very measured. I was painstakingly clear in taking myself off the table because it wasn't going to be a right fit. That happens in business all the time. But that we weren't talking about me. We were talking about the futures of other people who could potentially be in that position, that very disconcerting position. No miscommunication. What I'm talking about is you're describing a model for everyone, not just, let's get rid of me here. Everyone, if there's a penalty for being demonetized on YouTube, because your business model requires that be a huge component of it, you need to change your business model or this movement cannot work.
So like, okay, wait, let's go over this one more time. If there's a penalty for you being demonetized on YouTube.
For being demonetized on YouTube, because your business model requires that be a huge component of it, you need to change your business model or this movement cannot work, Jeremy. I can't imagine my show trying to come up and be beholden to YouTube advertiser guidelines, let alone, I mean, honestly, being beholden from a conservative entity with hard strikes, right? Being removed, but let alone being advertiser friendly. We know how broad those guidelines are. They might as well just read, don't say anything offensive, and they change them at the drop of a hat.
I'm not suggesting that the guidelines aren't terrible. I'm suggesting that if making money off of those platforms is part of how you're justifying the salary you're paying someone, then when, or the fee I keep saying salary, the fee you're paying someone, then when those go away, everybody loses money. You can't pay the same amount with less revenue.
How about you create a different business model?
Like, so how about you create a different, forehead, what different business, that's the business model. You put a YouTube video on YouTube, you see how much revenue is generated from that YouTube video, and you pay the person based on that revenue. If you're bringing in less revenue because you got demonetized, you need to figure out, you can redline a different revenue stream. You go, hey, this is a perfect example of, he's already demonetized fully, basically, off of YouTube. So you need to figure out a different revenue stream. Where you go, hey, I'm generating Mug Club subscribers. That's my other revenue source. We could pull from that. And I'll like, triple X the boost. I'll do this. We can do these things. We can continue my, bleep off YouTube, whatever the fuck it's called, where he just like leaves the platform and talks on his Mug Club thing. So it's driving subscribers to that, and you can continue with that model, and that's how we can generate revenue on YouTube without using YouTube as itself. Whatever they want, with their platform. Well, it's not even that. It's that. So there's two companies. There's the Daily Wire, which is this guy. This guy runs that company. The Daily Wire is another conservative. I know it's okay. It's all cringe, anyways. So this is the gist of it. Daily Wire is another conservative YouTube platform media company. Steven Crowder got let go from the Blaze, another conservative shitbox, whatever. So basically, to put this in sports terms, Steven Crowder is a free agent, and he's looking for somewhere to sign. And so the Daily Wire gave him a non-binding term agreement, which is like the very first contract you get, with an outline on it. And the outline basically stipulated that if you lose revenue on YouTube by being demonetized, your fee would be reduced by X amount. And the fee is basically how much he gets paid. So the contract was that you would get paid a $50 million fee over 4 years for X amount of videos, blah, 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 some other things. And if you got demonetized off YouTube, you would be penalized about 10% of the revenue of that video, I think. I don't know the specifics of it, but that's essentially what it was. He would get penalized like about 10%, or he would get penalized a set amount, or a fluctuating amount, maybe. I'm not sure. But you get penalized. No, I think it was a set amount because the fee is set at $50 million. So he gets penalized at a set amount because, you're not bringing in the revenue. So as he just explained there, if you're not bringing, if the business is based off of revenue, which every business is based off of, because we live in a capitalist society, everything is based off revenue. If you don't bring in that revenue, how am I supposed to pay you? And Steven replies with, how about you create a different business model? What the fuck is that business model?
Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Of course, telling someone else, hey, change your business model. I get it. I'm in no position to say that, unless, instead of Monday morning quarterbacking it, here's the thing. I didn't just...
Yeah, he's basically asking for charity. Well, we'll get through it, but he's basically asking for charity.
Criticisms. I offered a guide on how to... Here's the deal. I want to sit at the table with people who, granted, have an immense amount of power.
He didn't sign a contract yet. He declined the contract, but the contract...
That is all true,
like, whatever.
To be clear. And by the way, it's something that I want to have on our side of the aisle. But I offered a guide on how to do it. It is incumbent... This is what this is about.
What's that guide?
It is incumbent upon conservatives, if we believe what we say, to uncouple, to divest, if you want to use that term, from big tech. Right? For the business models of the movement as we move forward, to not rely on playing ball with Facebook and with YouTube.
So here's the issue. Okay, actually, I'll
that is something that we have to move toward. You know that we've been trying to do that here for years.
It literally will still pay him. Well, it could, if he gets demonetized off everything, he basically doesn't get paid. But yeah, he'll still get paid in some other ways. Like there's in the contract, he wouldn't get paid from his YouTube stuff, but he might get paid from other things. If let's say he gets demonetized off everything, he wouldn't get paid is the thing. Demonetization means you don't make any money. So if you get demonetized off every platform, I'm pretty sure the fee gets reduced by it's like 10% for this, 10% for this, 10% for this, 10% for this, and then it adds up to 100%.
Years. That's why every single show we say, hey, if you can watch.
But it's entertainment. That's yeah. If you're not making any money, we're not gonna pay you. it's not a typical job where, and it's like, because it's directly proportional, right? It's not like a typical job where, you know, depending on what you do for the day, it's harder to judge if you are making that money right back and forth, right? Because, you know, it doesn't really mean, like, when you take a phone call, Emily, at your work, like, there's no number that generates, like, oh, you made this much money, right? So you pay a salary based on, like, how much you're valued at, blah, 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 blah. But for entertainment, it's very easy. Revenue in, and then here's your percentage of what you make.
On Rumble, please do so. We're not looking to be banned.
And then on Daily Wire side, they're paying them, or you used to take phone calls. I don't know what you do now, but most of where you work was phone calls anyways. I know you do different stuff now, but like I'm going back to, I don't want to give away too much of your job, okay? Just give me an example. Like in sales, there's a direct proportional thing of whatever, blah, blah, blah. Sure, perfect. Yeah, but and even then, there's no like direct tied money to that, right? You don't know what you don't precisely know what revenue you're bringing in.
And on YouTube, but we certainly won't compromise the truth in order to be advertiser friendly. Here's the thing, Daily Wire, Jeremy, and I really do hope that we can talk at some point. Please, you can pick up the phone. We've done that. We here have found a way to make that work. For proof, see election night, our numbers on Rumble there, and see the numbers on Rumble when we get suspended from YouTube. I think it was 4 times this last year. And I went to great lengths to communicate that to the people at Daily Wire.
I don't know if he's going to play another recording, but I'm pretty sure if you look at the numbers, he gets way more views off of YouTube than he does off Rumble. So yes, while you're trying to move to Rumble, Rumble's still not a replacement for YouTube yet. And there's questions on that if Rumble's numbers are inflated, but
there can be no next me if the people at the top with you know the financial resources are doing the bidding. That's being the arm of big tech. What you just said is, well, we have to play ball with big tech if we want to make money. Well, I don't. Why don't you guys follow a model like I have and scale it? That's what I've been doing since 2014. You know.
Yeah, but all of it's still on YouTube. If you're not making money from YouTube, you get a penalty from YouTube. If you're making money from something else, like that's the whole.
That has been trying to make sure, which I thought we were all doing, that we can all flip the bird to Silicon Valley. This is saying we need him and you need to play ball.
And
by
the way, before some of you ask for this, look, there's always personal information on phone calls. And for the record, I've recorded 3 people on phone calls in my life. All 3 are involved with big tech.
Okay, next one.
Just to be clear, the entire call transcript has been sent to others to verify without hopeful.
Okay, we're going to the
opportunity to hear Steven Crowder's side of
actually,
everything.
No, and that's when I get
really having to release the whole thing, and I'll be on Tim Pool's show, I believe, on Monday to talk about it. Now, this is something else that's been brought to my attention. That you know, look, some people have been sent out from Daily Wire and have gotten very, very personal. Obviously, when we released this video, we didn't name names, and I told you there are a lot of people in the space who have made offers, and it is true. There are quite a few, and there are some others that have been pretty similar to this. This isn't an incredibly unique scenario, but there have been some good people out there too, and we're still talking with them. So I do know that some people from Daily Wire have come out, maybe been instructed to, I have no idea, I don't care, and they've gotten very personal. I don't want to do that. At least I didn't want to. But now it's sort of necessary for me to do so. So these are the only personal things I will say about the people at Daily Wire. Andrew Klavan is one of my favorite people of all time.
Okay, I don't care about this.
This is an important story. A lot of people have asked me, why does this matter? It's drama between media companies. And I think the questions being asked right now could determine the shape of independent, alternative, anti-establishment, and corporate media in general moving forward. Is it going to more take the shape of the traditional Hollywood system, but with better views, or is it going to be a new system that makes sure the individuals are empowered and can maintain themselves through the issues of censorship and run their own companies after any contracts change? There's a lot of questions here, more than just that. And so joining us tonight to talk about all of this is, of course, we've got Steven Crowder.
Yeah, thank you, sir. That's a little roomy. Is there with me? I should have done it for you. I'm an idiot.
Yeah, we don't
can do it from his end.
The new studio has the modules we can control, but we're...
Now, I've got these armrests, and I hit in the table, so if I look like an idiot, it's probably...
You can lower the seat. On the right side is a lever.
Yeah, it's the front lever.
Yeah, now you're short. I'll adjust your camera. But and also you brought your CEO.
Joe yeah, now officially just became CEO in the last couple of weeks there.
We'll have to adjust these cameras. So you know, Serge, Mrs. Flight, I guess that happened.
Yeah, sounds like it.
So we're completely just Luke.
There you go.
Ian will
I
get
just split the difference. Is that okay? I just kind of went out. I don't think you adjust.
No, he's a turn it to the side.
Oh, okay. It's almost like one of those things where it's like when Santa with the M&Ms.
Yeah.
Seeing in person.
Oh, right, but they're gone.
No, they have lesbian M&Ms.
No, they got rid of it. It's my wheels now.
Just now.
Okay, we're gonna talk about that. Ladies and gentlemen, before we get
It would
started.
make sense if she's a lesbian M&M that she was so fat.
That's fair.
Before we get started.
Because she's eating other female M&Ms. I'm not saying lesbians are fat.
Right.
Too much sugar. Yeah.
Big bones eat each other.
She was big boned.
Yes,
All right,
big bone.
let's do this. Before we get started,
Drive the
head over head over to timcast.com, become a member, support our work. As a member, you're helping us not just run the company, but also with our cultural endeavors and the weird things we do. We're opening a coffee shop. We're going to have physical locations. Of course, I did the weird skateboard thing where I got that company's logo they abandoned because they were woke. And we're going to do a lot of fun stuff. But as a member, you'll get access to uncensored members-only shows from this podcast, Timcast IRL, as well as Cast Castle, the vlog, Tales from the Inverted World. And we're going to have an uncensored members-only after this show as well, which will be up around 11 or so p.m. We record that after we wrap the live portion. So if you want to check out the uncensored version, go to timcast.com, become a member. Don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with your friends. And we also have Luke Rutkowski joining us today.
Hey guys, today I'm wearing my Make America Florida shirt, which you could get on thebestpoliticalshirts.com because I'm moving to Florida tomorrow. Sorry, guys, but the Daily Wire gave me a deal I couldn't refuse.
Oh, really?
I'm
Good
leaving.
for you.
No, I'm joking. I'm kidding.
I thought you were going to say you moved to Arizona because Carrie Lake.
No. I'm fiercely independent. I just launched a new business called I'mTheRealOG.com. So if you're in Florida, want to link up with me and want to check out my new business, I'mTheRealOG.com. Check it out if you're a real OG.
I can't believe you got that domain.
I know.
You said it was $5. The Real OG?
Really?
The Real OG. No, I'm the Real OG.com.
I'm surprised it's not a pot shop.
The RealOG.com is like a spam website, so don't go on that one. It like hacks people's computers.
Oh my gosh.
Don't go on that one. I'm the RealOG.com.
We got Ian hanging
So,
out.
by the way, can I say one thing, by the way?
Before we do, we should turn Steven's mic up a little bit.
Okay, I was
if
going to
you
say,
can.
because you're coming in a little bit hot in my ears, and when you were saying OG, which I'm really happy to hear, but it was loud.
So do you want to maybe bring Steven's headset down a little and his mic
I
up a
apologize.
little?
And one thing I was going, which camera am I talking into there?
That one.
People who are watching the live stream on my YouTube channel or Rumble, it's only going to be the first 20 minutes. There's really no other way to reach you, like with a post, and then just head over. It's Timcast IRL, right?
YouTube.com/TimcastIRL.
Perfect. So
And you can
all
add
of you
us-
head over there now if you can, but in 20 minutes, it's not going to be here.
Or Timcast.com. We just have it embedded on the front.
Oh,
so
awesome.
That's
Well,
easier.
I'm glad you guys are here. The drama, personal stuff, I'm not really interested in as much as the contracts themselves. I've been thinking about this since 2006, 7, 8. Like, I'm similar to you, Steven,
You
making
helped
internet
create,
videos.
can I say?
Maker Studios,
Maker,
yeah. I was only verbally, we would hang out, me and Ben Donovan and Dan Zapinski up in a hotel room talking about creating a union for web actors.
Right.
And it's evolved into now, it never really happened. And now I think there's a technical solution and we don't need to make paperwork necessarily. Because, I mean, I don't like trusting people with paperwork anyway, personally.
Yeah, I mean, my problem isn't so much with paper itself.
You don't like it?
No, my problem isn't so much with paper, but
it's
what
what's
it
printed
represents. Yeah, it's
on
what's
the
printed
paper.
on the paper.
Right,
yeah.
right, right.
Tends to be the issue.
No, but I remember I was with Maker, and then it kind of morphed into something where, the whole idea, right, was they were going to help protect you, get better advertising rates, and then, I said some things like, hey, we can't be repping you anymore. They turned into Studio something. I think they got purchased
Was
by
it Studio
Disney.
71?
Was that what it was? There were a couple of them, right, that were
Yeah.
out there. There was like Collab Studios. Was that the one that was called? I don't know.
We'll get into all that. I want to make sure everybody knows Kellen's here.
What's up, everybody? It's Kellen filling in for Serge. Let's get started, guys.
Yeah, so Serge misses flight, I guess, but we're all here and we're stringing it together with duct tape. And
Kellen's not duct tape.
no, he's good. Yeah, he's more like
Appreciate it.
I was definitely throwing you under the bus right off the bat.
it's that metallic airline tape.
Oh, that's better.
Yeah, it's
Okay,
like
yeah,
people
yeah.
see it and they get scared it's duct
Telling you
tape, but don't
sack
worry.
of dog crap.
I'll take.
Your duct tape. You didn't even get double-sided,
Yeah.
bitch.
But I got
Dollar
the
store duct
fancy,
tape.
the fancy airline duct tape. I'll take it.
Reflective. Yeah.
All right, let's
Kroger brand duct tape.
let's jump.
Wait. Go ahead.
Let's jump into this first story. We have this stopbigcon.com.
Yeah.
Louder with Crowder, Stop Big Con, Stay in Mug Club, or join a new. Enter your email below. So let's get started and talk about from the beginning. You, most people are familiar with the story.
Yeah.
I want to make sure as we get this started, I'll make this. I want to make sure there's important contextual understanding. People have asked why it's so important that, and why is everybody interested in the story? Why have we talked about it so much? First, I will say, well, I'm biased. I worked for big corporations. I've run my own company. I have this passion for how the media companies operate, how I operate my media company, my vision for the future. And I know so much about this. It's something I care about. When I hear about it, I'm just driven to want to understand more, talk about it, share these ideas. But it's more than just that. I just want to make sure that my bias is clear. It's that I, for one, have taken issue with the establishment media, the traditional media systems, how they operate with contracts. And so trying to build something different, I see what Crowder announced and what he's talking about, and I ideologically agree. So this conversation could change the shape of how media moves forward as the corporate media system is dying, firing people, laying people off, and an independent ecosystem is emerging with these networks, which form is it going to take? It could go completely corporate, it could go completely independent, it could be a mix of both. But this is a conversation that is extremely important moving forward. So we're hanging out with Steven Crowder and Gerald, of course, to talk about all this.
The business side more. I don't really take care of the finances as much. But
what's the story here? What's the story?
Well, first off, let me set something up off the bat. I want to make sure that everyone here knows. Like, I know that you guys have made very clear that you're monetized on YouTube because you believe that you can fight against big tech by sort of operating to some degree within the rules, but you've been very transparent about it. And so I don't want you to think that that is at all the same as what I have a problem with. And I mean, we can go back to a few things. Look, it really comes down to what's right. It really comes down to what the truth is. And this is something that's been a long time coming. Gerald actually came on as CEO because we're being batted around so long. This is years and years in the making. I get the point with corporate media. The issue that I have with many in the conservative side of this sphere is the fundamental misleading and dishonesty. That's what I have a problem with. And you see that here as this story took place. Kind of it started right where we released this video. We didn't, and it was just by design, didn't name names because there could be a litany of contracts that are similar to this. A lot of them are often verbal offers.
We mentioned it could have been Fox News for all anyone knew, and they're the corporate monolith.
There's about 4 or 5. I would say we have 4 or 5 offers, and then there are other investors who come into the space who just want to dump in a whole bunch of money. Daily Wire here outed themselves, and I understand that people are saying, well, people knew who it was. Well, that's because some of the people who were under those contracts said, yeah, I recognize those contracts. And Candace said on this show, I recognize the terms from my contract. Here's the thing. I said this is wrong. Penalizing conservatives, and I believe this to my absolute core. Penalizing conservatives on behalf of...
So, like, first thing that's weird is that he's like, well, we got a bunch of offers from everyone. And then they're like, well, Daily Wire outed themselves. No, you used Daily Wire's specific contract on your show, just an FYI. The word you blanked out is the Daily... Well, they showed the whole thing. But it's kind of weird to say that. I don't know. It feels like cope. Like, we got offers from so many people. Daily Wire just decided to out themselves. He's kind of like... It sounds like he's trying to suggest that it wasn't their contract that he showed on screen, but it very obviously was.
Big tech, while taking money from people who are paying you, investing in you to fight big tech. That is what they're investing in. That is what Mug Club is investing in. That's what subscribers are investing in. While simultaneously penalizing conservatives is fundamentally wrong. I had that conversation and said, look, just please give me your word. You're not going to be doing this with other people who, as you well know, when you start in this industry, don't know better. Immediately after that, right, the conversation was, Crowder is making a big deal as a dick about money, right? Basketball money. $50 million a year was the implication, which is not true. People aren't saying that now. That's not what people have a problem with. What people have a problem with, I understand, is the idea of a phone call. And now the narrative has shifted to betrayal of a friend. That's what people want to say. I say less straw. I say this is something that I've watched, experienced for years, tried to give every possible out to do the right thing, and have tried to do the right thing in the way that we run our own business. Saw the gaslighting, the bully tactics that take place behind the scenes of other creators, and knew it wouldn't be myself. So now the narrative shifts to how could you record a phone call, betray a friend? Well, hold on a second. It was just about money. It was just, this is just business, and now it's, hey, we're really good friends. Well, which is it? I mean, you kind of have to pick a lane, right? Are we good friends, or are you sending out a boilerplate contract that you demand of everybody according to what they say?
Again, now it just sounds like just copium again of like, you just want charity from your friends. This is a business. This is a business negotiation. Yeah, you guys are friends, but it's also a business.
110% penalties on behalf of big tech. And the issue with that is that it's dishonest. It's a tactic of the left. It's a tactic, the same kind of tactic that you see from the left, the gaslighting, where let me ask you this. If someone came out...
Real quick.
Yeah.
I just want to clarify, you said 110% penalty?
Yeah, you can see the contract right there. If you add them all up.
So
because there's boycott penalty. Yeah.
That's a fair point.
Yeah. And this is the issue.
If you make them money,
I made it clear it wasn't about me. It's about other people. It's about this being.
Yeah, of course you would owe them money at the end of it. You got to pay for their service if you're burning their service.
This happens in this incestuous sphere across the board.
Of course there would be.
What would you do? This is my question.
Real quick, let me ask. My concern is if people aren't familiar with the total context, you leave the Blaze, or in the process of you're fielding offers, you receive a contract,
a term sheet, not a contract.
Yes,
which people are semantically
predecessor to a contract, but
which is basically the terms they're offering for a contract.
Right.
Some people have argued, but the point is, they basically said, you will
Come
be
on,
penalized.
ask him. Ask him why didn't he
25%
just
if you get a strike.
Why didn't he
No,
negotiate?
if you're demonetized.
If you're demonetized.
Then another 20% if there's a strike. Then another 20%, I don't remember the numbers for Facebook, for Spotify, but there's also another penalty if your sponsors get boycotted. There's also another penalty if you don't agree to 10%, if you deny 10% of the sponsors, which is probably like you, we probably accept 1 out of 5 sponsors. But let me just kind of go through this timeline really quickly.
For
Go ahead.
people who are trying to understand what's going on, it's basically the contract you received specifically outlined
Term
YouTube.
sheet. Term sheet.
Yeah,
The term sheet you received.
I don't know if it matters.
Said YouTube.
You don't put something in a term sheet that you don't want in a contract.
Right.
Nope.
It said YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and Facebook.
Yeah.
Specifically, if these big tech companies are upset with you, we dock your pay.
Yes.
That's an important
Well,
distinction.
hold on. And not even dock his pay. I want to be very clear here. This is a production house. This is our budget that gets docked. Steven is not just taking... This is not basketball where you pay Kyrie Irving to go out and shoot hoops, right?
Sure.
You're paying an entire team of people to produce.
Before we get to that, before we get to like the finances,
Yeah.
Let's go through the
I
timeline.
want to. Let me ask you this: if someone publicly was going, and by the way, I'm not going to be doing the personal stuff. I'm not going to be coming in here calling anybody a bitch, right? Sending out hatchet people. I understand why Candace was mad.
I was agreeing.
Honestly, I understand why she was. I'd probably be mad too. So I don't think it gives you an excuse to go and talk the way like every girl does who gets their husband into a fight at a bar. But I understand why she was upset. If you had the ability, if someone's going out saying, "Hey, you're a difficult person who only cares about the money, and that you're a bitch," and you had the opportunity to clear it in because it was verifiably untrue, which now no one is arguing, would you do it? How else would people switch from it was about a $50 million salary to recording a phone call? Do we allow it when James O'Keefe does it? Is it only when corruption is on the side of the left? And here's the issue.
You shouldn't allow it when James O'Keefe does.
The
James O'Keefe's
dishonesty.
an
I'm not
idiot.
just saying Daily Wire. This
Every
is really
phone call
about the
recorded is,
entire
like, just
movement
as
as a
bad as
whole.
Stephen Crowder's was,
There are a
but-
lot of practices that go on, and it hurts the sponsors, hurts the creators, hurts the viewers, hurts the investors. And by investors with us, it's entirely mug club.
Well,
It's people who
exactly,
pay
yeah.
to subscribe. We don't make a dime
Because
off
he
of it.
understands
We've
the
been doing it for
game.
many years.
He just has to
And it
spin
hurts.
it so that
But
it's not.
If you
so he
believe
can
what
make
we
his
say
own
we
brand.
believe, the movement in the country.
Because of course,
as a
at the end of the
whole.
day, it's all about money. If you don't bring in
that
money, how is he supposed
right
to fucking
there,
pay you?
Right, is fundamentally and the gaslighting still keeps taking place. Candace Owens on this show said,
gaslighting?
"Hey, we all follow the same guidelines, right? We all follow. Crowder does too. That's verifiably false." Now, so you can publicly audit this. We've had 4 strikes, right, in the last since May, I think, 2021 to October 2022. One was the Mekhi Bryant. One was a sketch with Alex Jones. That one's guilty. One was
As charged.
One was him quoting the CDC. And by the way, none of this will get you in trouble because you can say this now. Him quoting the CDC,
I did, yeah.
bringing up the CDC numbers on flu deaths for children versus COVID. And we were saying this is interesting science, right? That COVID kills more senior citizens, but for some reason is significantly less lethal to young people, to infants. That science is accepted now, so you won't get a strike. But that was one of the strikes. The other was when we had Kerry Lake on
It's not
in
accepted
a
science now, you
gubernatorial
dipshit. It's
election.
just not, like,
4.
as volatile.
How many have taken place from Daily Wire? You guys, 0. Now, here's the thing. I'm not saying it's a badge of honor. I'm not saying that it's a badge of honor to be suspended.
Oh,
if,
thank God.
If they came out and said, look, we demand, as Jeremy said in his 55-minute video, we demand that all of our creators follow these rules that YouTube and Facebook set
Yeah, so you
through
can pay
punitive
them.
practices and mandating of our creators to do so. And
Or you can
Crowder's
figure out a
little
different
bit
revenue
more of a
stream.
rebel. You know what? He's been banned for 4 times. And that's not the same kind of... That's not a problem. The problem is saying that we all follow the same rules because so that's all publicly verifiable. Now, I could tell you guys that behind the scenes, I've had many conversations with senior YouTube executives who say, we might be able to get you remonetized if you kind of play ball like these guys, Daily Wire, and insert other people here. I could tell you that, but would you believe me? Would I have to provide receipts? I could tell you that takes place. That hurts the creators out there who they end up, hitting a glass ceiling that is set, the sandbox that is mandated to their creators.
I love this. There's
The
like a
same thing
rolling ball of
happens,
shit
with
here. I gotta get
sponsors.
this thing.
Let
back
me ask you real quick. What does that mean, play ball?
I need to still be strong.
Like, obviously you're
things
paraphrasing, but...
Yeah, paraphrasing.
But if I get this, I want
Titles, subjects, not talk about this subject or not talk about it in this way.
Yeah.
Maybe soften, don't use these words. Maybe change this a little bit. This happens a lot right behind the scenes, and that makes it impossible for independent content creators. The same thing happens, by the way, so that's gaslighting that you see right there. We all follow the same rules. It was about money, then it's about a phone call. With sponsors, look.
But if I could ask you, did YouTube reach out to you and say, hey, do you want to play ball with us?
Yeah, we have conversations all the time with YouTube.
Got it.
Matter of fact, I can tell you that. Here's the thing: I'm not going to be providing receipts to people who don't want to be involved. Right?
You're
There's
not
no
going to provide
single
receipts.
party
Why are you
consent
here?
state wiretap.
Provide the receipts.
You don't rope people in who are victims
If
if
not, you're
someone-
just chatting shit,
If it's an entity that you believe is predatory, that's the difference. There are
I'm not
good
gonna write any
people-
receipts. Just believe everything
There's
I
some good
say.
people there who want, but
oh,
their
come
hands are tied.
on!
And guess what? Everyone
I
else's
just
hands
wanna-
are tied. If you say, "Hey, we're all trying to fight this system that exists," but you're not. You're mandating that you exist within the system. Only one person is saying, "Hey, you know what? If you want to be
chest
monetized and you
spawn.
don't,
I
that's
don't think I
fine."
can go get it,
And
though.
one is saying you have to fit into this box.
Very important context to this is obviously after you put out the first video, I've talked with a bunch of my friends and they said, look, you know, Daily Wire's trying to run a business. If he gets banned off YouTube, how are they going to sell ads? How are they going to do the sponsorships? Where his views are gone.
Yeah.
And I've seen people tweet, all of Crowder's views come from YouTube anyway, so he'd basically be unmonetizable if he was banned. And then I point out, first of all, that's just categorically false.
Yeah, it's not true.
Because Rumble exists. And
But Rumble's not
there for the first time
YouTube.
today.
and
Oh
this
my
is an important
God.
context.
Oh, I just
the
ran into it
contract
like
you were
a vampire.
offered says Facebook, Apple. I said YouTube, Apple, Facebook, Spotify, but it didn't mention any of your views from any other platforms. And there's Google Podcasts. They get views. I know the numbers. Obviously, it's not the same as say Apple, but it's interesting to me.
That's the
that
point.
For a lot of people,
Rumble is
like
still
Dan
not
Bongino,
YouTube.
for instance, had more subscribers on Rumble than YouTube.
Yeah.
It's interesting then that their attitude is
he's got more-
if you're banned from YouTube, it's a 20% fee reduction, which you mentioned includes your staff
25.
salary. 25.
And then, no, sorry, 25 for and then another 20.
Oh my
it's
God.
45.
Demonetization.
In other words,
Dude,
for us,
what am I
right off
supposed
the
to fucking
bat.
do here? How am I supposed
and
to
this is the
get
thing, I
that?
said, like, is this an accident? Like, you know, in other words, okay, we're good.
But let
it's good
me
friends,
just-
but hold on a second. Does anyone here have a problem? Do you not believe me when I say we haven't been monetized on YouTube for 3 years? You all know that,
right,
right?
of course.
Literally,
And we're not that close.
0 days, or did you have?
So what
pockets?
happened is we were demonetized. How many years ago? Then someone accidentally
was
remonetized us for like 4 months, and then demonetized. and then demonetized again. We were like, "What happened?" And they were like, "Yeah, actually, no, sorry, you're demonetized again." I was like, "Well, skunked again."
So what did we
So
do
this-
to get
this is-
monetized, basically?
But-
Of
Yeah, I
course, they
wanna-
can't answer, right?
I want to make sure this point is made clear for everybody
Yeah.
because this is a very important part of the argument when I heard it. If the point is you can't sell ads or build an audience because YouTube banned you and that's it, but you're getting 85% or more views on Rumble, the question is why no penalty for getting banned from Rumble? Why is Rumble not a consideration in the contract at all? And why don't they
Because you're not gonna
simply
get banned
say
from Rumble.
comparable views instead of the platform? Like
If you bring in
for every million
okay,
views per
that's what I don't
day you
understand.
lose, we dock you. X
If
If you
answer
bring
that
if you
question
bring in
exactly
if you
because
bring in the revenue from Rumble, then you'll get paid. It's not that right? Is that not part of the like?
What happened?
It's fundamental to the
I haven't
business
watched the
model. And I was informed of that. It is fundamental. In other words, there are plenty of options out there.
The reason
right?
I
You can tell you, I get excited when
you know
I
why?
walk
Do you want to
out
know
and I go,
why
"Hey,
it's
how many
fundamental
people
to
are
the
tuning in
business
live on
model? Do
YouTube?"
you want to know why? Here's the crazy thing as why it's fundamental to the business model. It's because Rumble is not YouTube. No, I know Rumble. No, we haven't seen the contract. Rumble might not have been mentioned, but the reason why Rumble might not be mentioned is because Rumble is not even fucking close to YouTube. That's the whole point.
How many on Rumble? They go, "Oh, it's tipped. There are more people on Rumble." Sure, I've been on YouTube for a long time, since 2006, but it doesn't mean that they don't change, right? And the issue is, I think it's a great thing to use these platforms. There's a huge difference, by the way, between being monetized and being on the platform.
Yeah.
But ultimately, if we believe what we say, we have to be trying to get to the point where we know that fast forward 5 years, you can't speak the truth on YouTube, certainly not if you want to be monetized.
Like, is this even streamed on
But there's
Rumble?
this
I don't even
jockeying for
know.
position with people who they see as competition. And the issue here that I've always made clear is the locking
again, if
in
the
of
money
these
was all there
punitive
from Rumble,
contracts
you would
that
just be on Rumble right
mandate
now.
and enforce big tech policies and guidelines as a matter of business. And that hurts creators. And the same thing, by the way, when we're talking about misleading practices with sponsors. There's no problem, right? And this is all publicly verifiable. I want you guys to be able to audit this so that there don't have to be as many receipts provided. You market your channel, right? I think we probably have some ads running right now, like Spotify, like, hey, if you like this show, tune in on Spotify. But there's a big difference. We know that there's a huge problem in our industry of pay to play. Now, you can do that. That's fine. If you want to grow your numbers.
I'm just making it bigger every
what
time
is
I
that?
shoot
Is
it.
So pay to play means that you can buy views, right? You can pay to play. You can run your video as a pre-roll ad, and people see that number. But really, a lot of them are 14-second views, 8-second views, but it still clicks that counter.
Oh, nice. Okay,
The closest apples-to-apples comparison that you could do right now is you could go out and take, like, let's say, not this controversy because there's cross-pollination, but Ben Shapiro's a huge show. Of course he is. But go take some videos there right now that have 1 million plays. Go month after month. Take a bunch of them. Look at the likes. Look at the comments. Take videos from my channel. It's comparable plays. Take them with 800,000, 600,000 plays because we've converted them a lot to Rumble. Look at the likes, look at the comments. It's startling because it's a lot easier to buy plays than it is to buy likes and comments. That's not a problem.
Wait, are you saying that the Daily Wire is buying views for their
I'm
content?
saying that they run the videos. This happens not just Daily Wire, to be clear. Stop Big Con is designed because it's an entire industry. And what happens is, yes, these views get inflated. There's nothing wrong with running ads to increase the video count. The problem is this. When that is used to then go out and set sponsorship rates. And then this is what happens with creators. When you sit down with sponsors, and these are hard-earned dollars, right? A lot of them are mid-sized companies. You run them on this show and they say, yeah, but you know what? We didn't get our money's worth, and this person is the #1 show, because they go out and they say that they have these numbers, and they set what happens? They drop those rates across the board, which hurts everybody.
I got it. What happened?
Or they pull out altogether. Now you can publicly
permanently allow you to
verify
cast
that-
spells and to
that
access the
information. Now, I
list
can
of
tell you
secrets
guys
from the main menu.
that I've had conversations with sponsors.
What the fuck is a spell?
We're not going to be running in the conservative space because it's just not as effective as we thought it was. Or you know what, we're going to be pulling out. And content creators will say, why am I getting these low advertising rates? Here's the issue. If you're some kid, and by kid I mean, you know, you could be a 40-year-old with a smaller podcast. Let's say you get 250,000 plays. Not as big, but good numbers. Let's say you get 500,000 plays, right? Good numbers, but they're real. And you are a conservative,
maxed.
and you're trying to grow this. And then all of a sudden, your content, YouTube is saying, can't say that, can't do that because
just
the
need
box
chests
is
so I
being
can
created by
evolve my
all of
guns.
these companies in big conservatism.
Are there any
and then
boss
you're
anymore? There must be
trying to
boss
make
somewhere.
it,
There's one.
right? You're trying to make it something that is
Right in
financially
this here.
solvent. And you can't because sponsors no longer have
Gone, yeah.
faith in this side of the industry.
What the fuck?
That is something that hurts those creators. And this is something that, so the creators are hurt, the sponsors are hurt, the viewers are hurt because
there
I just
chest
want
on
to
my
finish this one, and then any questions you have. The viewers are hurt because they feel isolated. They feel like their views are not represented, right? They go, hold on a second, I'm conservative. Why are none of the top people saying whatever it is? X, Y, Z. And the investors are hurt. And I don't mean billionaires. In our case, it's people who invest when they sign up for Mug Club. They are paying us because they say, we know that you're demonetized. We know that you don't run nearly as many sponsors. You're very selective. And we think we are giving you our dollar in faith because we think that you are fighting for us. Imagine, let me give you one final parallel world there. Imagine if we left the blaze, okay? And this, again, the issue is that everyone is demanded to sign these exact same contracts. That's what they said. They've been very, very clear about that. It's just business.
No, it's not.
Imagine
That's not what they
Mug Club leaves the
said.
blaze.
They said that this is a
And let's say we
preliminary
come
deal.
back 2-3 months.
This is the
okay?
standard preliminary deal
And
we give
come
to
back,
everyone. That's what
and
they
all of a
said.
sudden, I don't talk about vaccines.
That doesn't mean you have to
nowadays.
sign the contract. It just means
All
you
of
have
a
to
sudden,
negotiate.
I don't talk about election integrity like I used to. All of a sudden, I don't host Carrie Lake in the same way that I used to, or host her at all. And all of a sudden, all the parodies, the sketches, you
Can
know,
that fucking
sweeping
boss
epic
die right there?
parodies,
I need the
Saving
fucking
Private
chest
Ryan,
from
or
him.
There Will Be Blood, or Schindler's List, whatever it is.
He just keeps
You don't
disappearing
see
every time I
any-
shoot him
change
a
my
million
mind.
times.
You don't see any of those anymore, but you see 4 or 5 live reads. I'd be the definition of a sellout. And I would be selling out the people who paid for something different. Only one group of people here is saying, you have to fit into this box. I'm saying, you got to let some people let the freak flag fly. I don't care if you want to be monetized.
Yeah, you can
or
do not.
it
on
Don't
your
lock
fucking
people and punish them
thing.
on behalf of big tech when you
Your
claim that you are
Daily
fighting
Wire
them,
Plus
and it is
subscription or like
everywhere.
Mug Club.
And it's disheartening.
I'll tell you a story.
Oh my god. What the fuck? Oh my god, he's making me go to fucking Timcast? Fuck you.
Why the burnout rate is so high in this industry.
This celebrity looks like now. You click it.
Hardcore pornography.
All right, let's just say
We are giving you our dollar in faith because we think that you are fighting for us. Imagine, let me give you one final parallel world there. Imagine if we left the blaze, okay? And this, again, the issue is that everyone is demanded to sign these exact same contracts. That's what they said. They've been very, very clear about that. It's just business. Imagine if Mug Club leaves the blaze.
Preliminary deal.
And let's say we come
Say it
back
again.
2-3 months, okay?
You didn't do any
And we
negotiations
come back,
as it seems.
and all of a sudden, I don't talk about vaccines in the way that I used to. All of a sudden, I don't talk about election integrity like I used to. All of a sudden, I don't host Carrie Lake in the same way that I used to, or host her at all. And all of a sudden, all the parodies, the sketches, you know, the sweeping epic, like a parody of Saving Private Ryan, or There Will Be Blood,
You can
or
do all those things
Schindler's
on your
List,
Mug
whatever
Club.
it is.
That's like your whole
You don't
thing.
see any. Change my mind. You don't see any of those anymore. But you see 4 or 5 live reads. I'd be the definition of a sellout, and I would be selling out the people who paid for something different.
Dude, I
Only
need that
one
boss to die,
group
so I
of
can- oh,
people
shit.
here is saying you have
chest.
to fit into this box. I'm saying you got to let some people let the freak flag fly.
I'm gonna die
I don't
soon.
care if you want to be monetized or not. Don't lock people and
Okay, that
punish them on
1.6
behalf
million
of big tech
revives.
when you claim that you are fighting them, and it is everywhere.
I gotta do a big
And it's
turnaround.
disheartening.
Oh, these
I'll
are
tell you a story.
hard to go.
I think the people who have watched my content consistently
Oh,
know
that's
about this.
cursed.
It was called some refer to it as ad rights sales, ad
Doesn't spawn
rights
the boss
buying.
like that, I do.
Back in the early 2010s, these up and coming digital media outlets would sell the rights. What
Well,
they would
guys, I
do
don't
is
think
they
I'm
would.
gonna
I'm
make
sorry,
it.
they would buy the
Oh, I
rights
could make
to
it. It's just
views.
survival.
So let's say you're a company called like
Yeah, I did it. I did it.
you know, some word that represents people.
Why'd you
who,
pick one that is clearly going
know.
to direct people to hardcore pornography?
All right, let's just say
Good behavior.
Yeah.
Skittles and Rainbows website, okay? And
Same.
big, okay.
Bodacious M&M's
Yeah,
Let's say you're a big brand, and you get about 30 million views per month. That's not going to cut it. You can sell a premium idea. There would be these low-tier websites. You've seen them before. You'll see an ad and it'll say, "Guess what this celebrity looks like now." You click it, and then it'll say, "Here's the celebrity throughout 25 years," and every photo has 50 ads, and you click next, and it loads a new page with 50 ads. What they're doing is harvesting views.
Right.
So then, this website that nobody knows the name of, nobody visits, tricks you into collecting a view. They then sell the rights to those views to a premium network. The premium network then goes to advertisers and says, "Our network gets 200 million views per month.
Right.
And if you advertise with us, you are in that network." And in reality, they only get 30, but they bought the rights to those
meanwhile,
ads.
there's some
It's
kid who's
amazing.
actually getting 10 million views, right? Meanwhile, there's some kid, and he doesn't get the same advertiser rates because he gets burned. And then those kids drop out. Does anyone ever wonder why the burnout rate is so high in this industry? There are so many good people. I mean, you can go back to when I was on PJTV in 2009. People who I worked with, good, solid people who, by the way, had skin in the game, who had a lot to lose. And you'll never hear from them again because they just go, "I'm out. I'm out." They get disenfranchised. They get disenchanted. And that's the issue. Look, it doesn't affect me. I'll be fine either way. But we've always talked about building a bench, and I've always talked about wanting to be able to pass the torch. It's not possible to do this way. And by the way you know this is true is right now I have said I don't want to do this. Again, I've been thinking about this for a long time, trying to work behind the scenes, trying to work within the system until I realized there's just no interest in doing it that way. And then you say, okay, is our move, this is why we lose. Conservatives wonder, what the hell, with the midterms, what the hell happened? Why do you think? Why do you think people like Lindsey Graham, like Mitch McConnell, nothing personal against them, why do you think that there are people out there and you go, how do they not get voted out? Why do you think these are our decisions for speaker? These are our choices. Why do you think you constantly lose? Because the people who really do want to be the vanguard at the cutting edge, they burn out and they leave because they can't compete against it. And that's the issue.
I got to tell you, man, I make this point all the time where I just say, for all the people who are claiming I'm a grifter or I only want money and that I don't really believe the things I'm fighting for, I'm like, it would be so much easier to sell everything, shut it all down, and just buy some properties, rent them out, and not have to worry about any of this.
Take money and shut up, right?
Take money and shut up. But it's not about what's easy.
Yeah.
It's about what matters.
Yeah. And by the way, we want you guys to make money. We want every conservative
Yes.
in this space to run a profitable business. That's what I run. I own a wine
saw your
business.
Manuka honey back there.
Yeah. We want people to make as
got the
much
good
money
stuff.
as humanly possible, but do it honestly. And just be honest with people about how you're going to spend that money as well.
Well, there's the issue too. Again,
Let's-
we're talking about honesty. Is it just friends or is it just business? You kind of have to pick one. Is it a lash out or is it premeditated? You kind of have to pick one.
It's not.
Look,
let's-
what the
let's-
fuck?
yeah, go ahead.
I do want to talk about the friend
Like it
versus
literally
business
just sounds
thing,
like he's
but I
crying
do
about
want to
charity
first
every time he says that.
jump into
Is it
a segment where we
business
can
or
talk
is it
about
this?
$50 million.
It's-
The big narrative that we were hearing about your
Well,
argument.
it's not anymore, right? They changed it to the
Right.
phone call. That
Now
was the
it's-
initial narrative, which was a lie. That's a tactic of the left.
So
Gaslight.
let's do the context here.
What the fuck?
You put out a video. You mentioned, look at these fees. It's,
I never mentioned money outside of what I
Right.
believe were immoral penalty fees. I never talked.
Yeah.
You've never heard me say, "Hey, not enough money was offered." That's not what it's about.
So when
Yeah.
we first were watching the show and we talked about it, I said, "What's the fee? We don't know." And then the Daily Wire's response, of course, was, "We offered this guy $50 million.
Basketball money.
Basketball money." The response then from detractors and most people was, "Holy crap!" And they're imagining Steven Crowder in a big private bank vault diving into a bunch
Scrooge
of gold
McDuck.
coins.
Scrooge
Yeah.
When in reality, the $50 million included the entire budget for your whole staff, your whole production facility, every production you would have done. Meaning, you've got to pay. How many employees do you have?
About 25, soon to be 30 something.
Soon to be 30 something. Now, if you want to do production on a skit, we're talking maybe 30 to 50K, depending on the size of the skit.
Yeah. Every time we show up to do a change my mind, it's $50,000.
50
Yeah.
security,
Millions in legal each
camera work.
year, millions of
Payroll
dollars in
every year.
equipment, payroll, millions of dollars in taxes. It's the merging.
So
it's
how
the
are you
merging
supposed to
of-
make that money?
What was that?
It's theft.
Yes, I completely agree.
But let me just say,
If you make no money off.
I'm on your side on this one.
platforms.
Everybody can know my bias. The reason that really bothered me is because I run a company. I know how much money we make. And there are people who assume that revenue equals money in your pocket profit. And it's like, no. If they're giving him $50 million, it sounds so wonderful.
They're
until
assuming
you-
you're dumb. They're treating the audience like they're dumb again.
Well, no. A lot of people don't.
But here's the
understand
thing.
this.
People don't understand because they're assuming that you won't go and do research. Look, $50 million basketball money versus $12 million. If let's say Marvel says, I don't know, the new Thor movie is $200 million. Is that Hemsworth's salary? It's that simple of an analogy.
Yeah.
But the issue here, and I'll let Gerald kind of talk about that more. The issue here is like I think that these people at Daily Wire, they've said that they're very business savvy. They're running a business. So, are they very business savvy? Are they dumb and don't know that $12.5 million a year for an entire production house is what we're actually looking at? Or are they lying when they say it's basketball money and $50 million salary? I think Candace Owens at one point got like 140 or something on this. I don't
So
really.
you said you wanted $30 million a year or 140.
And the only reason people know that's not true, and you've seen the transcript, you ever see me once say, hey, it's about more money? There was never an offer sent after I said, look, it's a non-starter if you don't change these terms, and please tell me that you're not doing this with other people. There was never anything after that where it was, of course the non-starter is, I can't do 5 live reads because we do commercials.
I just want to ask one specific question because a lot of people are bringing this up and they're accusing you guys of only exposing them after they turned down your counteroffer. Is that true, or can you add more information to that?
Yeah, I don't know why they're saying the timeline that he kind of gave was completely inaccurate.
Yeah, there was never any counter offer from us. What Steven said was basically, look, guys, these are the terms that we have a problem with.
Right.
And if this, I don't care what the contract says dollar-wise. If these terms are in there, that's bad, and you need to start again. This has to be pulled out.
So there was no counteroffer because I'm seeing a lot of you guys say
there was the agent. The agent, I think my agent, they sent this term sheet. The agent said, well, if you're talking about 100% ownership, by the way, in perpetuity forever, meaning, and it's a 6-year contract with no option to negotiate. They have an option to extend for 2 years. 6 years, locked in at that rate. And again, how do you penalize someone for money that they don't make? They're not going to lose money on you being demonetized. Now, I get that I'm a special situation, but they said this is demanded of everybody. The big con issue is something that I've been running up against, and everyone in this industry knows for many, many
Again,
years.
it's talking about a preliminary
They just
deal.
were arrogant enough to out themselves and to put it in writing and to say,
I want this.
we know how to run this business. We figured it out. You don't know what you're talking about. And of course, after that, another last straw was, then going and trying to take our social media director, and I only showed you that email because he's willing for me to show you. Like, we have people poach all the time. When you have your ideas stolen and they put more money behind it, not just mine, when you build someone up and someone else comes in and says, hey, we'll offer you more money, they use them for 6 months and burn them out, I'm sure that's an accident. I'm sure the people at the top of Daily Wire didn't know when they reached out to someone who was not looking for a job, who loudly and proudly advertises himself as social media director for Loud with Crowder. But I could tell you that on that phone call, they said, we have an entire social media department. Right? I said, I have one guy, Gary, and he's awesome. A few days later.
I do want to dedicate more time.
Did Gary join Daily Wire?
Well,
No, they came in and tried to hire him. He's not looking for a job.
I want to dedicate some more time to starting from the beginning of the context of that story.
Yeah, I know.
But I
He
wanted to
moved
address
it
something before Luke jumped in.
Dare you, Luke?
Tim Cash.
How dare you, Luke?
I got to
Florida.
No.
Go to Florida.
I'm sitting here.
That was a good question. I'm not saying
I'm
I'm I want to put a tack in this. And one of the big things we're hearing is a friend. You guys were friends, and the recording of the phone call and stuff. And thinking about the contract. 4-year contract with option to renew for 2, locking you in at that rate, 12.5, including the entirety of your staff. And it's just business, and I'm kind of like, I hear that. It's not something friends offer their friends.
No,
It's not about friends. It's a business. Oh my God, he's actually asking for charity. Unironically, he's just asking for charity.
A term sheet. It ends up being thousands of dollars, especially when it's like, hey, look, hit select all, delete. None of this makes sense.
That's what I'm here. I'm
here
here for the people.
It came down to, well, you heard in that phone call. I said, take me out of it. Right, this is not the right fit period. I knew that.
But again, why the fuck is he asking?
These are not the terms that are demanded.
This is not a thing you give to a friend. It's not about friendship. It's a business.
Fuck me. Please tell me these are not the terms that are demanded of everybody. And I said those were the last words. And he said,
"Oh my God,
yeah,
serious.
Maybe I'll take it under advisement." And then you go, "Okay, all right, this is where we are." There's no hope for the movement if we claim to be fighting big tech and we sell out the people who are paying us to do so and fighting on behalf of big tech. I'm sorry, it is something. It's wrong.
Earlier in the show, you mentioned that I think you mentioned this in the show that you were in Hollywood, you were doing the standard talent route, and then you decided to come out on YouTube as a conservative, and it basically cost you a lot. You lost your manager. You don't come off to me as a lot of Candace was on the show and she said he's doing it for money. It's so obvious. Why can't people see it? And I'm thinking about that and I'm like,
do you believe that?
No, I don't.
Well, they're
because-
accusing you of counter-offering. That's what they're
but I
saying.
understand that. But the first thing I thought was, I'm like, Crowder's already rich. You know what I mean? Like, I understand people are looking at contracts and
Not
money.
really like you'd think. I mean, if they want to do personal tax returns and business tax returns and the charitable givings, we can do that.
This is
We can do that. We
again-
can do it through a third party and seal them because I get private information. We can do that. Gerald will tell you.
This is again, people like why I care about the subject matter so much.
Yeah.
Running this
Cool.
business and making lots of money. I often say, for a guy like me, who growing up in Chicago and being close to the bottom of the totem pole as an American, which is great for the rest of the world. I mean, if you for the rest, America's awesome.
Right.
The poorest person is wealthy compared to everybody else.
Right.
But there's a certain point in terms of having things that I could have ever wanted, and it's a very, very low bar.
Right.
You know, I'm making it once I got hired by Disney, the Disney Fusion, they're paying me $250K. I'm staring at money I have no idea what to do with.
Right.
Beyond that, I'm going to change the world. I'm going to do everything I can.
But this is the thing. The dialogue shifted to money, 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 money. You heard me say this is wrong, and then it's money, 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 just a business. And then it's this is wrong. Money, 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 this is just a business. Look, it's not just a business. And by the way, when you're talking about business, find out what motivates the people you're in business with. I'm not motivated by money. That's not what motivates me. If you look back at the track
I don't
record
want
in
spinach, though.
2009,
All those passive
it was
stuff.
because I wanted to see the system burn, meaning as far as the system that kept conservatives in line. And I mean the liberal system, but then when you realize that it's on your own side, not motivated by money. And by the way, don't leave someone
the
with
capitalist
nothing
here?
to lose.
What is happening?
You know
The
easiest
left is the ones
situation
that
take
after
the
money now?
Shut up. Second easiest is go bet on yourselves. You've seen the numbers that we've given you there. And guess what? You make more
talking
money,
a
you
lot
shut
like a
up.
not
The
capitalist. I
the
don't know.
option of say no and say, look, this is
luck.
wrong, and speak
How's the
out
chest?
is significantly harder than any of
Okay,
the other
duplicator.
paths.
Thank
Two things I
God.
want to say is
Good passive.
my point on the money was I view you in a similar way, that
The only
you're
other passive I need
ideologically
is the,
driven. That
Yeah.
if you have the
Pickup
resources to do
area.
what you want to do and you're living comfortably and taking care of your family,
watching this.
beyond that, I don't see you as the kind of guy who's like, I don't have an infinity pool and 3 Ferraris in my garage. So when they say Crowder is just
What's the infinity pool? Is that the
edge?
it's where the edge goes off, like,
Give me
and so
an-
yeah, they're
It looks
really
like a
cool.
horizon.
I have no idea.
That sounds nice. I mean, I
If
wouldn't
it's
mind
into a
one.
sewer, that sounds
Right,
good.
but the question is, if you had the choice between an infinity pool and a young, a talented personality who is going to help change the shape of this country for the better,
Yeah.
I think you're going to choose the change the shape of this country for better. That's my view of you.
100%. I had to tell this guy that it was okay to buy a reasonably priced shotgun.
Yes.
I'm not kidding. This is not me like standing.
Well,
like,
he is
Holy
Canadian.
shit.
We've been
Yeah.
friends.
Who cares?
We've been friends for a while. Steven can tell me at any point to go pound sand, right? So I'm not kissing up. It's just like he's like, guys, I want to buy this shotgun. And I'm thinking,
Benelli
like, oh, this
M4.
is- yeah,
Benelli
it's-
M4.
yeah,
It's a good one. I
It's
got
not
one. I got
crazy
one.
though, right?
I got
Do
one
you have the
too.
H2 over?
I have the
Hey.
foldable stock.
Hey, look,
I want, yeah.
is it basketball money crazy expensive? No, it's not, right? And so he
Everyone
has,
hold on,
everyone
hold on.
in America deserves a shotgun.
A Benelli too.
A Benelli.
We went
Nice.
to it.
It was 2.5
We
years
were in
before I
Texas
pulled the trigger.
together, and you were there when I bought it.
Yeah, but we were at a shop out here. Luke said, "Hey, you should buy that. It's really great." I buy it, and then he goes, "I want it. I want it
Yeah.
instead."
Was it a Benelli?
And then
Yeah,
I was pissed off because I was like, I didn't
Thank
think. I was like,
God.
I should have
There you
bought
go.
this. And then he bought it before me.
Okay,
I'm like,
okay.
wait.
So wait, hold
Okay.
on. This is fun because this is
We had a
he
whole
was-
argument.
John was with. By the way, how many people are watching right now?
150,000 ish.
158.
On our channel, 158,000.
158,000.
So what? What?
158. Is that a?
158,000.
That's just on your channel. That's why we're still streaming on ours.
I
right?
think second highest number we've ever done.
Okay.
Just on our YouTube alone. Did you want to
transfer.
make a
no,
point?
no, it wasn't really a point. It was the Benelli M4, right? So what happened is I really wanted, but they're not cheap. And I was like, you know what?
Yeah,
I can't
please.
justify buying this. You can go buy it online. And so I was talking with Gerald and Johnny Boy, who you met, my Canadian friend. I said, okay, you know what? If I go into, because they're like unicorns, they sell out right away. I said, if I go into a gun store to pick up something up or something, and it happens to be there, that's God telling me He wants me to have a Benelli M4. And I went to go pick up some transfers from Walther, and lo and behold,
Oh,
I see
big
one there,
upgrades.
just came in, and it's the H2O version, the Cerakoted version. And
I
I
never
don't
got
think
the
you were with
fucking
me, but Johnny
rebuy
Boy
by them,
was.
'cause they
And
just
I was
never
like,
gave it to me. Fuck. They
you
had all
know,
my guns.
I still don't think I can justify it. He said, if you don't pay for it,
Forgot
I'm
about
going to buy it. And of course, I knew that it would be far more expensive for him. So I bought it, but it took a long time. I'm not really motivated, but it is a nice shotgun, though, I will say.
Yeah, great
Occasionally, there are some things, if you're going to spend money on,
Oh, a tool. Any tool that you want to learn something with, like a guitar too. You want to get
Yeah.
a good a really good tool.
Yeah, or like knives. Like if I have like there's a huge with steel.
Oh
and
shit!
Okay,
I
sorry,
mean, is
Tim, I
this
know
just
we're
the rest
gonna-
of the stream?
Let's go. I love the Benelli stuff because
Yeah.
I got one.
I wanted to make
but
a-
I got to make a point about you said in 2009 you were like you realize
Okay.
that the liberal
Bringing it back
system
to it?
is holding you back or something to that effect, and
Okay.
then you eventually realize it's on your side as well.
Yeah.
I look over to Luke because Luke's the guy who's been screaming since 2006. Like the Republican machine is lying to you all the same. The powers that were being given to the intel agencies and the establishment will be used against you.
Yeah.
Here we are.
Well, here's the thing. You're absolutely right. And let's be honest, right? How can you change all that yourself? You're doing the best that you can, right? But there's only so much that you can do. The difference is right now, at this point, an inflection point in history, as it relates to right-wing conservative media, I can do something. I can't change the intelligence agencies. But you know what? When I asked Carrie Lake on the show, I say, would you disband the FBI? Yeah, I would. Boom. Gone. Suspended. I can do something about that. I can't change the CIA or the FBI. You're probably more effective with that than I am. I'm an entertainment guy. I was a guy telling jokes in clubs, having beer bottles thrown at me when I was 17 years old, voicing, a black bear who was the best friend of an aardvark when I was 12, which is clearly derived from hallucinogenic drugs.
I love that show.
Yeah, it's funny. I had to do the Kwanzaa rep if ever you want to find something embarrassing for the Christmas episode. And that's when I was 13 years old. And I was like, oh, Kwanzaa.
Holy
If I
shit.
look into this. I should, Daniel Day-Lewis this.
Everything's lagging.
And then I realized, oh, it's bullshit. It's Ron Everett, and he beat them with fire hoses and soldering irons. And then I'm doing this song for Arthur. Hey, come together now, it's Kwanzaa time. And I wanted to.
Was the pay worth it?
Well, at that point, I was under contract at 12 years old.
Right.
So there's not much you can do.
I still remember we were called crazy truthers for calling this out as rationally as we did, saying, hey, the national security state is going to be turned around against you, and it has. But
No, you're right.
At that time specifically, we had a discourse that was kind of free and open. We didn't have algorithms. People were able to see important messages and videos and talking points and content creators. Now we're living in a different age. I wanted to kind of get your point of view. Some people say you have to keep pushing the Overton.
I entirely agree with you. Daily Wire advertises. Wait, Daily Wire advertises that they are fighting big tech, but are playing ball with them. That's not true. So it's just a business. I don't want to sound cringe. It's just a business negotiation. But Emily, I'm not playing League. I'm watching this. I'm watching this. I'm not playing League. No, I'm not doing either. I'm watching this with 8 viewers. I actually entirely agree with him. Advertisers fight big tech, but they're not playing ball with them. So the issue that's happening right now is that this is just standard business practice. Like, this is just a standard business thing. So, my question to you is, where do you think most of their views are generated from? Where do you think they're getting the most outreach? And I would hope that the answer would be like YouTube, Facebook, all the big platforms, all the big tech platforms. So if that's where most of your revenue is coming from, which odds are it is. Now for Steven Crowder, there's an exception on YouTube, right? And again, he didn't offer a counteroffer, so how can you say that? But again, this was just a preliminary offer. So here's the issue: as a preliminary offer, a lot of people can negotiate, and the only argument Crowder could have is that if Daily Wire wasn't really like, he's on this weird crusade of like, what about the little guy? If you have to then prove that Daily Wire doesn't argue in bad faith with the little guy, and they're like, you have to sign this or you're fucked. We're not going to sign you if you don't sign here stating that you're going to like forfeit all of your profit. If you get demonetized, all the money that you could possibly make is going straight to us. Like, but there's been no demonstration that they argue that they're negotiating in bad faith with these contracts. The contract was a very standard contract. If you get demonetized off YouTube, and he already is, but so you could negotiate that. But if you get demonetized off YouTube, minus 10%. If you get demonetized off this, minus 10%. Blah blah blah. And the reason for that is, again, if you're not making me any money, how do I pay you? If I'm gonna give you every dollar for every $2 you bring me, and you don't bring me $2, how am I supposed to give you that dollar? That's all. You can still post on big tech, blah blah blah. There's all this stuff, whatever. But I can't pay you if you're not making any money. Steven Crowder obviously knows this, and you negotiate in the contract. How are we going to make money? He has his mug club. He has other things. He has do a stream on YouTube and do a stream on Rumble, or divert and change your stream to Rumble. You start your stream on YouTube, bring in all the viewers, and say, hey, if you want to hear more, go over here. And you move people to a different platform, and you negotiate that in your contract where, maybe you get favorable revenue on Rumble. Maybe you get this. Maybe you get that. Because of like whatever, if you get favorable outcomes if you're bringing people onto Mug Club and Daily Wire, you get, but none of that was given because he only looked at the preliminary deal and no further. So, like, yeah, I don't know. Yes.
Window. Some people say you got to keep playing ball. Mark Dice is also in the chat. He just is accusing Ben Shapiro of allegedly paying $135,000 to boost his Facebook posts. I don't know if that's true.
Well, who cares though? He can do that. The only
Those
issue
are
I have
ads.
is when that's used and it hurts people because sponsors drop out because they don't get their money's worth. Again, I could tell you that. But would those receipts be a betrayal? Because this industry fundamentally needs to change. People are investing in you and in us and in what you're saying. Right? If you can't say what it is that you're saying right now, let's say if you send a contract that said, yeah, but you know what? We have a lot of buddies in those systems. You're selling out the people who are supporting you. And that's something that to me is unconscionable. And people can disagree with it, but no, I think you're absolutely right.
So
People
what would
talk
be
about
the total
overbudgeted.
solution? I want to get into the problem solving. Like, what would you do if you were the Daily Wire?
Okay, so the
Yes,
only
evolution
thing,
of
this is the
fucking-
thing,
thank
this is
God.
all done right
We're doing
now.
it.
I'm not saying that I have all the answers, but the first answer, and I've said we won't talk about this again. If someone takes a pledge alongside me, anyone in BigCon, just the only thing that I ask is that you do not punish conservative content creators on behalf of big tech. That's it. Start with that. Let's start with that. Before we get to everything else, right? So a lot of times people want the entire solution. Just start with that. You won't be penalized 25% if you're demonetized on YouTube by the people who are supposed to be fighting for you.
Now let's address the argument there.
Yeah.
The argument they've made is why should we be the ones to lose money if you're removed from the platform and not making money?
And that sounds really great, right? It's a partnership. That's what they were talking about. They were trying to pick like a partnership and put it into contract form, or at least in this, like a term sheet, right? Well, what it didn't take into account, honestly, is what if Steven, okay, it's $12.5 million. What if he's making them 30? What if he's making them $30 million
That's a starting point,
a
is a
year?
guarantee.
Yeah. What if he's making them
Yeah.
$30 million a year, and all of a sudden, instead of making 30, they're subtract 2 from that. So it's fine to share in these things when the expenses come up, but when the upside comes up, we're not really in a partnership anymore.
We would
So
be the
this
only
wasn't
one-
about
wait,
money,
this
guys. Expenses $30 million.
But it's a start-
Well, what it didn't take into account, honestly, is what if Steven, okay, it's $12.5 million. What if he's making them 30? What if he's making them 30 million? What if Steven, okay, it's $12.5 million. What if he's making them 30? What if he's making
Isn't that the whole fucking point of a business? Is that you make more than whoever the fuck you're hiring?
them 30 term sheet, right? But they were trying to pick like a partnership and put it into contract form, or at least in this, like a term sheet, right? Well, what it didn't take into account, honestly, is what if Steven, okay, it's $12.5 million. What if he's making them 30? What if he's making them $30 million
That's a starting point,
a
is a
year?
guarantee.
Yeah. What if he's making them
Yeah.
$30 million a year, and all of a sudden, instead of making 30, they're subtract 2 from that. So it's fine to share in these things when the expenses come up, but when the upside comes up, we're not really in a partnership anymore.
We would
So
be the
this
only
wasn't
one-
about
wait,
money,
this is-
guys.
We would be the only
It's
ones
just
at risk.
disingenuous.
The only ones at risk. I'm already demonetized.
Right,
I can hear
But
Jeremy
hold on,
being
this
like,
is-
"It was a term sheet. I would have negotiated."
Okay,
I can hear him.
all right,
Well,
hold on,
look, I can write that I
But
want
he
to have
didn't,
sex
though.
with your wife on
There
a
is
term
no-
sheet. Oh, I thought you were going to redline
wait, wait.
it. It's like, come on, that doesn't.
Okay, George just stands up. I had sex with your wife.
This is a good point. It penalized you. It's if you get banned, you lose X percent, and
No matter how much you're making.
45.
no matter how much you're making,
No.
and no matter how much you lose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you lose $0, they penalize
And
you.
the penalties add up to 110%. And they said in their own video, this is demanded of all creators, right? Does anyone disagree that that's what was said? This is what
You have to
everyone said.
negotiate.
Now
Okay.
here's the issue with that. Again, you don't.
It's a non-binding agreement. Like
the counterpoint, Candace
Or
said,
non-binding
is
contract, or whatever
she
the
negotiated.
fee. It's
She
like
hired a
a fee.
lawyer.
Yeah.
Steven Crowder has the resources to hire a lawyer and redline this.
Sure.
She put on her.
I thought
big
we were
girl
good
pants.
friends.
I figured
Thought
out
we were
why
friends.
Candace was so pissed last
So
week
hold on,
when she
wait,
came
wait.
in.
Yeah.
This
I
is-
figured it
this-
out. I'll tell you about it.
this
in a
is-
Here we go.
second.
Are we gonna get an answer?
Let's talk about the
Can we
friends thing. This is
answer?
actually a really good point.
Can he redline?
You recorded co-CEO of Daily Wire Jeremy Boring on a phone call.
Yep.
He says,
We
I
just
thought we were
dodged that?
friends.
Yep. We're just
A
getting
lot of
off
people
that?
Said, wow, that was a messed up thing to do.
Did I fuck
it
up?
sounds like what you're saying in the context we were just talking. They sent you a business contract that was very bad, that penalized you 110% if all fees are applied, more money than they would actually pay you. And it didn't take into consideration if you made them more money. It didn't take into consideration how much money you made them. It didn't take into consideration if you were banned from Facebook, but Facebook
That's the whole point of the
generated no
sheet.
revenue.
Wait. Oh my god. Do none of these guys understand capitalism? Yeah, if you get paid a fee, it doesn't matter how much money you make them. You might get a bonus. You might get a thing. That's how salaries work. That's how anything works. Of course, if you bring in more money than your contract is worth, let's say, or whatever, that's great. That means you're doing a good job. Isn't that? Or you could negotiate a scaling fee.
They still penalized you.
That's part of it.
So here's what I'm hearing. Here's what I'm thinking. If the question is, and I do have qualms about recording the recording, but we'll get into more detail. They say you were supposed to be friends. Why would you record your friend's phone call? Well, there's an interesting point to be made. Why would your friend send you a very, very bad contract that felt exploitative?
And why would a friend not listen to you when you say, take me off the table, it's not a fit? There was never, just to be clear, there was never another offer that came through after I said, these are the non-starters. The penalties for big tech, right? The owning of people's names, image, likeness, their platforms in perpetuity long after they leave. I said, then we can talk about the money, right? He said they came in low, and I'm sure my gay Cuban hardcore right-wing agent came in high. You find that, but it's like, but there can't be any terms without this. Once I said that can't happen, then these terms.
They only want him to follow YouTube guidelines because that's where he makes his money. If he made more from Rumble, they would care if you followed YouTube. Well, of course, but the problem is that you can't make money off Rumble. Or you can, but it's not going to be anywhere near as close as YouTube. And if you're in the business of making money, which guess what? Every single business is in the business of making money because we live in capitalism. You have to generate money. And if you can't generate money, we're going to pay you less. That's all it meant. Now, he had a baseline thing. He probably had a baseline fee or whatever. Now, he says there's 110%. That's if you get banned off everything. And, yeah, I understand. Thanks for the correction, though. But if he did get banned off everything and he's paying and he's getting that 110% penalty, well, of course, because now you have to pay the Daily Wire to air you, right? There's a bunch of infrastructure that they're providing you that you have to pay for, or you are paying for. And if you're not making any money, well, now you're the one who has to pay for it. It is paid for by you making money for them, but if you're not making any money for them, who's going to pay for it? It's going to be you. That's why it goes up to 110%. That's kind of a basic thing. But yeah, if you're not generating money, then you have to fall like you. And now again, this just comes because he never negotiated any part of his contract. You can negotiate that you would generate. Hey, Daily Wire, you know that I'm banned off everything, okay? So on my contract, we're gonna have to figure something out here so that we generate money, or that I'm not getting this penalty because it's basically automatically 10% off my salary. That's kind of bullshit, okay? So what can we do to figure this out? And they might send this out. Okay, do your YouTube streams, and then we'll move it to Rumble, and then the revenue generated from Rumble is the YouTube money. We'll call it that. Let's say that. Even though Rumble doesn't generate anywhere near as much money as YouTube, obviously, but whatever. We're gonna ignore that part for now still. I don't know when I should start getting
terms, the big tech penalties. That's when
so
talks completely stopped. It was never changed and said, of course, all these. It's like you saw in their first video. We have to make money.
They outright said,
of course, they have to make money. It's capitalism.
Yeah, there was never another offer after that. I said, look.
They outright said that fee structure couldn't be changed.
Like you saw in their first video, we have to make money.
They outright said that fee structure couldn't be changed.
Yeah, there was never another offer after that. I said, look, this is the sticking point.
You're the one who has to do the counter offer, Crowder. They're not going to keep offering you random shit. You have to counter offer. Of course they didn't send you another offer. You're the one who has to counter offer. You're the one who has to do redlining. I mean, all he has to do is continue with what he already does and keep the piss off YouTube section and his paywall behind Daily Wire. Absolutely no. Exactly! Thank you, Gavi. You got it. You figured it out. That's literally all he had to do, is keep his exact structure, because he didn't decide. He decided for some fucking reason to never counter offer and do like a, this is how I think the contract, like, he just didn't do negotiation. This was just his plan all along. It feels like it, because he never sent a counter offer, although according to Ben Shapiro's like transcript or whatever, his counter offer was messaging Jeremy and going, I want 30 million a year actually. And that was his count, and he didn't redline anything. The main thing is that he didn't redline anything. And why didn't he redline anything? But he's sitting here demanding whatever the stuff. Like, oh, this. Oh, they said they wouldn't change the fees. They said they wouldn't change the fees on the basic form that they send to everybody. Because this is, again, as they stated, a non-binding contract or non-binding term sheet, whatever it was called, where should I just continue getting? I don't know if I need. I'm just gonna do this. Yeah, it was a non-binding term sheet that didn't mean anything. It had there's no terms to it. It's the very first contract that you get sent. It has no bearing on. Oh fuck! Hold on, sorry, I gotta concentrate. Yeah, it's the very first. He just didn't do any negotiation. It was just either his plan all along or he's a colossal dumb fuck. And I don't think he's a colossal dumb fuck. He just wants to start his own. He wants to start his own media company.
And also, you have to. We can't do this. I'd love to sit from one business owner to another. You don't have to do it this way, right? A good example is, look, I feel vulgar talking about.
Oh, I wish I watched the other video, because there's a video that he posted where he's like, "This is how I would run my business, and my business I would do this," and it just sounded totally fucking unrealistic, and there was no possible way that you could run your business like this. And he would run it like that for like 5 months, and then realize that he's just burning money, and he'd have to switch.
Okay, election night. We had been suspended.
I feel like it was a ploy to get his own email list going, to build up his own studio, build up his own platform. Kind of gross to do this. People, yeah, I know. It's 100% what it is. That's what it feels like. It's 99% what it is. Because it's the perfect jumping off point, right? You're going to war against every other media outlet out there. You're the only good. It's exactly what Trump does, right? It's the same thing. Of all that stuff of like, yeah, hey, we're going to war against the bad guys. It's us against the entire world is what he's setting up, right? There are no good guys. It's just me and you, and it works. We know it works. Dude, the effect bonus that I have is actually OP with my fucking Santa, my jars that I drop in there, and they never disappear. They just sit around me forever. Is this crab gonna die? Oh my god.
For having Carrie Lake on. The entire Daily Wire cast on YouTube, less than a quarter of the viewers that we had on Rumble. When we cross-streamed, their viewership went up 40,000 people. That's proof of product that, hey, look, proof of concept. You can do it off of YouTube. You don't have to.
Right.
I think
yeah, but then do it off of YouTube. Send a contract to them saying, hey, we're permanently demonetized off YouTube, so we know we're not going to make any money off YouTube. What about Rumble? And you put that in your next, but you didn't send a fucking contract negotiation.
Use the platform as long as you can, but you need to start building alternatives. It is fundamental to the business model.
They are building
on the right.
The alternative, by the way, is Daily Wire Plus. That's why they started
that we have about 120,000 more live viewers than we average with you being here. So there's something to be said.
I think Daily Wire's got some creative, like a lot of opportunity on their website. Because like if all your back catalog was on Daily Wire at no cost to anybody, and they could go into Daily Wire, log in, and then I spend 99 cents on a Crowder video, and then that money gets split between you guys. Like there's a lot of technical.
Well, they're already going to be doing over 300,000 Mug Club subscribers day one, right? Now. The issue here is let's take me out of it.
So now here's the big claim, okay? He's claiming, so he says that he gets more numbers than them, but I don't know if it's been proven, but Daily Wire claims that they have 1 million Daily Wire Plus subscribers on their thing. Been kicked off YouTube, so it isn't time though. It isn't time. So it isn't times though. I don't know what you mean, but what the fuck was I saying? Yeah, so he's claiming that he would have day one 300,000 people subscribed to Mug Club. Now I don't know if Mug Club is forced per year, but I remember it being like something like $100 a year and $60 for veterans or what. I remember him advertising. Let's say it's 100. Okay, so if that's 300,000 at $100 a year, assuming that you can't cancel that, it's forced 1 year purchase. I don't have a fucking calculator near me. And I don't want to bring one up because so what, 300,000 times the 100, so he's saying that he would bring in $30 million for the year, which doesn't cover his contract, by the way, just an FYI, and then you have to add everything else. Everything, right? It's too divisive. Many people who watch Crowder watch Ben Shapiro, and him doing this going to make a lot of people pick sides. This splits his own base and your party as a whole. This seems like a bad business strategy. I believe in freedom of speech, so whatever it takes to stop tech, I'm on board with. It definitely does seem like a bad business strategy. So here's the issue. I do agree. I agree with everything you're saying. I'm just trying to think of why the fuck Crowder would do this. Because if Crowder's not an idiot, if Crowder's an idiot, his team of people around him are probably not idiots, right? Like, what are the odds that they're actually this dumb? So what's like his goal? And I think his goal is probably, it's to make his own media company. Now, while, yeah, you know, it probably splits the base, I don't know if he gives a shit. I agree with you. I don't think he should have gone public at all, but I believe in what he's standing for. Sure. I guess. I'm mostly just talking about the business stuff anyways. Like, we can go into... it doesn't really matter what he stands for or not stands for. Because what he's saying doesn't... We're trying to figure out if what he's saying is even true. And so far, from everything I heard, is that there is no big con. And then you can have an argument about big tech, I guess, but that it's not really involved with this because we're just dealing with Daily Wire and Steven Crowder. And on Daily Wire's side, it doesn't seem like Daily Wire has done anything wrong. So anyways, back to the money thing, right? He's claiming that he has 300,000 people subscribed to his mug club per year. And I think Daily Wire also has a similar $100 a year subscription, but they have 1 million subscribers. So they're bringing in $100 million. And there must be fucking more than that. I don't know where else their revenue's generated. But basically, half of fucking their Daily Wire subscribers is going to pay for Crowder. So you have to figure out how you're generating your money. And so 30 million of that is coming from Mug Club. I don't know how much of that goes to the Daily Wire to host you. But like, yeah, everything just sounds like standard business practice stuff. It's nothing seems wrong. I don't know. It just seems like very standard business dealings. Can I actually not get touched? Like, what the fuck is happening here? Look at how OP I am.
Say you're starting your own thing, right? You're trying to come up in this movement. And the terms are being set by people on your side behind the scenes where this is the ball that you have to play. I said to Jimmy, take me out of it. It's not the right fit, which I thought, if I don't have a dog in this fight anymore, it won't fall on deaf ears.
Like, look at this.
Hey, it's about
What the fuck?
about the next kid. This can't work. We can't have a movement. We can't sell our people out. And that's how I view it. Maybe you don't. They said, this is just a business. These are the terms. But there are alternatives. You don't have to be dependent on YouTube or Facebook. And you certainly shouldn't make it fundamental to your business model when you're telling people that you're fighting them. This has been going on for years.
Here's my
and not just Daily Wire, to be clear. Not just Daily Wire.
His argument I agree with. Actually, wait. His argument I agree with. Business forcing people to follow big tech guidelines sucks. However, it is. If it's where you make your money, then they want you to follow them so you both keep making money. Like, well, yeah, they're not forcing them to follow Twitter guidelines. Exactly. That's the thing. You can break all of YouTube's rules. You could be permanently demonetized on YouTube. You can negotiate that section in your contract, and he didn't do that for some reason. And even if you don't make it, like, if you don't make any money off YouTube, great. We got to figure out a way that we're paying you. And what that could be is moving people onto Rumble, if that's an option, right? And you can explain how that could be an option. He does, and I think Jeremy Boring even mentioned it, his like fuck off YouTube whatever segment was something that they actually took and did their own thing with. Daily Wire basically took that idea and was like, oh, that's a brilliant idea. I don't know if they called each other, whatever the fuck, but we're going to use something like that on our channel because it's perfect. It drives people to a new platform. But like, yeah, if you're on a platform, you have to follow those guidelines. And you might disagree with those guidelines. Those guidelines might be bullshit. But if you're on that platform and you want to make money on that platform, you got to follow those guidelines. That's as simple as it goes. That's business. If you walk into a store and you want to buy a product from there, you got to follow the store's fucking guidelines. That means you have to wear shoes and a shirt. Okay? Like,
pick a name in the movement. You know? Most likely, yes.
Here's my view of it. I think the Daily Wire does important work, good work. Candace Owens' BLM documentary, I think, was good. What is a Woman, I think, was a massive success. that What Is a Woman reached people that I know that aren't political, and that's a cultural force. So I think I talked with them. We had a meeting. I sat down with Jeremy, with a few of the other guys, but mostly with Jeremy. Jeremy came on the show afterwards.
They can pay him based on views
hey,
and
if there's
supporters.
anything you ever need.
Or they could pay him based on views and supporters he brings to Daily Wire and leave YouTube completely out of it. Best believe it's going to lower that contract money. Oh, okay, then yeah, you agree. Yeah. Exactly. But that's what I'm saying. He didn't negotiate that. Right? He didn't say he could still be on YouTube. Like, this is how they go. I've said it 3 times now, but the negotiation goes, hey, Daily Wire, or Jeremy, I'm already demonetized on YouTube, and that's probably never going to happen. I'm never going to get monetized on YouTube. So we got to figure something out other way so that I can still get this fee. And maybe Jeremy goes back and goes, yeah, you're right. We're just going to lower your... We're not gonna be able to pay you as much because you're not making any money from YouTube. Unless, of course, you can provide us with some way that you're going to subsidize the revenue that you would generate from YouTube. Exactly. What it sounds like is that Steven Crowder wants charity. He wants friendship charity. He wants the Daily Wire to pay him enough to sustain his business and just propagandize the world. And that's not how capitalism works. That might be how the Soviet Union worked, but it's not how capitalism.
Just let us know. Thanks for having me on. And I was like, I'll hit you up sometime. We talked about doing Nashville Week because we wanted to try out our new mobile studio.
Fuck you.
Then we got,
Get away
while
from
we're
me.
in the process of setting this up, I said, well, let's talk. I mean, is there a way we can maximize the effectiveness of our operations? You guys are way bigger than us.
Of course.
But of course, there could be an opportunity that we don't understand that you do. And so we started talking about a variety of different things.
Yeah.
Ultimately, it came to potential terms. It came to requirements. Of all the businesses I've ever negotiated with, the most real, in my opinion, was with Jeremy. It was like I was talking to an actual human being.
Their guidelines because it's their business. Oh, sorry. There's another message. Yeah, I definitely think this was a matter that could have stayed between LWC and DW. I'm a huge fan of both, but I do believe at some point someone has to stand up to YouTube and not take their crap. Been played so many times. He's not standing up to YouTube though. He's following their guidelines. Well, you can do both, by the way. You can stand up to YouTube and go, "Hey, YouTube, we don't like your guidelines, so we're going to try to drive as many of our viewers onto this other platform." That's called Rumble. We're going to use you guys to drive as many viewers into this and make Rumble better than YouTube. That's how you stick it to YouTube. You go, "Hey, we're going to still follow. Hey, as long as I'm allowed on this platform, until you ban me, I'm going to use your platform. I'm going to follow your guidelines. I say they're bullshit, but I'm going to follow them. But halfway through my show, I'm going to switch it over to Rumble, and then we can talk about whatever we want there." He's just upset Dude wants to keep him following them so they can make money off his YouTube stream. He's just upset that Dude wants to keep him following them so they can make money. Oh, yeah. Well, he just thinks it's like a personal attack on the whole, like, everything, but it's just not. I don't know. And their guidelines are absolute bullshit. They're controlling what people can and can't say, all for the sake of political correctness. The tech companies are running our country. Okay, this is kind of besides the point, because I can go off and totally disagree with you. But that's besides the point. Sure, let's say the guidelines are dog shit. This is not how you stick it to them. Because guess what Crowder's going to do? Crowder's not leaving YouTube. Crowder's not going to do that. His alternate business model is going to fail if he stays on YouTube. He has to figure out a way to subsidize the revenue that he generates off of YouTube. Or that he uses to generate YouTube, right? He's not going to leave YouTube anytime soon, because Rumble is not there.
Who knew what he meant, who explained the pitfalls, the pros and cons. Look, if we do a deal like this, you're right, it's going to suck because of that reason. That's true. What do you think? And I said, I don't know if that's going to work for us. The joke is, I actually said, what if I want to put up a billboard that says Liz Cheney's a fat pig? And he was like, that's not us. Like, we're not. And I said,
couldn't find one big enough?
Right. But I said, like, I'm not literally going to do that. I feel it is kind of crude saying that point. But the point I'm trying to make is that we're roguish. We want to do weird things.
Yeah.
The ultimate conclusion was, then there's maybe we can't work transactionally together. And I was like, yeah. And he's like, but we'll do other cool stuff.
There are two separate issues. One, big tech has bad guidelines. Yeah, but that's not the issue at hand. Well, yeah, that's an issue, I guess, in general, but that's not an issue that's going on here. Especially because there's no contract. It's not like, because the reason why I say that big tech right now isn't an issue is because Steven Crowder didn't counteroffer. Big tech would be an issue here if the Daily Wire was like, "No, Steven, you can't use Rumble as a substitute for YouTube. We're not going to let you stream on Rumble. You have to stream on YouTube, and you have to follow their guidelines. That would be the bad thing, but they didn't say anything like that. They were totally willing, at least Jeremy said on his like whatever video, they were totally willing to allow him to move to Rumble to do his fuck off YouTube segment. And that it was like a really brilliant idea, and they even used it as their own idea.
Sure. You know, we'll talk with your guys on our shows. You know, we'll have you on. You can come on. This will be really great for everybody. And so my view was like, I agree with you on the contract stuff.
But why did it really fall apart? Why did it completely fall apart?
Like the deal with the.
In other words, what you're saying is they were saying you need to be in this box because it's not about the billboard. Let's be honest. It's not just about the billboard. If you're
the billboard was the box. It was like if I wanted to do something that was aggressive and more shocking, the billboard is that point.
Yeah.
I don't want to put up a billboard calling Liz Cheney a fat pig.
Can I ask you something?
Yeah.
Did they do the thing where they said, we're trying to look at outside capital for you for the first time. We couldn't make it work. They didn't do that? They didn't do that?
They try to look at outside capital, so donations. Not to mention half of them flew to Pedo Island. Okay, this is fucking great. I'm about I don't even know.
I don't want to give up too much of the details of the conversation we had.
Of course.
But I basically said, let's just say I made a big ask of the biggest asks. That if what you're saying, you know, it has to be this way, then I have a very, very big ask. And they were like, yeah, that's expensive. I don't know if we can do that. And I was like, look, ultimately what it comes down to is, for those that understand tabletop RPGs, they play Paladin, I play Rogue. Someone commented in Super Chat.
I don't understand the reference.
But I'll explain right now.
Do you not?
Someone Super Chatted, they're trying to be rebels within the box.
They're warriors of God. That's a paladin.
Basically, think of a stoic monk, a knight following the rules, holding his sword, saying, look, the rules are as such. We will do right to the best of our abilities. Whereas we here at Timcast are like a bunch of crackpots in the bandits' forest being like, we're going to do what we want to do.
It's like the Lost Boys out here. It's a skate park, and it's like a bunch of mopeds, and I thought you were going to throw a basketball in my face, ask me to play. I wanted to yell at bang ring.
I did bring you to the basketball court.
You did? Yeah, I made the VIP up the half pipe. Yeah, you know, I would agree with you. Here's the problem. When you have a few, because again, this is not about the Daily Wire. There are a few key companies that control what is permissible in this movement.
Suck.
And these few key companies are saying this is the only way. I'm saying there could be many ways. It would be one thing if we're saying, hey, maybe this way, maybe this other way. But now this sort of reeks of, why don't you go and create your own YouTube? Why don't you go and create your own? Find billionaire investors to give you seed money. Yep. Well, how do you do that when then
this? I don't even know if I want this.
Ideas are stolen, and then millions pumped behind it to promote it as it seems original, and then they steal your talent, who you foster. You know, you've probably had this happen. I've had it happen with dozens of people. The picture I sent you of people working at our company, there's at least 4 or 5 there who worked for me. They were young. Other big networks in this space came in, offered them a bunch of money. I said, look, I'm not going to keep you. I give you a letter of recommendation. After 6 months, they come back.
So I wanted to address what you were just saying about these companies playing by the rules. That's completely my experience with a lot of these different companies, is that big tech is clearly infiltrated by, I mean, you look, Alan Bakari, I think it was, got his hands on that Google video where they were crying that Trump won. This is Google. I love this. On my Wikipedia, it says Tim Pool, you know, maintains that there's a bias in big tech against conservatives or whatever. Sure. And I'm like, no, I don't. I read a Gizmodo article from 2016 that said Facebook was suspending conservative news outlets.
I was in there. Yeah. That's how I met my half-Asian lawyer, Bill Richmond. He read the article, and he was like, yeah, it's like the Chris Kyle Foundation, Ted Cruz for president, and you need some representation. I was like,
they act like it was a smear against me, that I was pushing conspiracy theories when I was literally reading the left news sources. Right. So anyway.
And Luke saying, told you.
They set these terms, these big tech companies. And then what happens is the leftist organizations clearly say the stupidest and craziest things. You know, ChatGPT, the AI bot? It was, I think, Jack Posobiec who asked it, or he tweeted this out. When asked, did Joy Reid and Rachel Maddow spread COVID misinformation? It says, no, they didn't. And it was like, well, they did. Literally, we know for a fact they did.
Yes.
And then it goes on and says, well, while they acknowledge some mistakes, no. The whole machine is skewed in that direction. What happens then is big tech company, I shouldn't say big tech, I'm sorry. Many of these big conservative outlets, I shouldn't even say necessarily conservative outlets.
You asked an AI bot,
many of these companies
that means nothing.
Are just like, we're going to set the parameters right here because we're gonna be within the box. We're gonna be rebels within the box.
This is the problem, and I'm finding why I think Candace was pissed too, is that when we refer to companies doing thing, and what happens is the company is a hologram. It doesn't have any availability or any ability to do anything. The people, so when you're negotiating, for instance, it comes out Steven Crowder negotiating with the Daily Wire, quote.
Right.
And that brings all these other Daily Wire employees into it. Like, they were getting messages, Candace was, Michael knows, on their chats, and they're like, now I'm involved because it was between you and Jeremy Boring,
They don't have to be
Ben
involved,
Shapiro. There's actually 4 owners to the Daily Wire: Ferris Wilkes and Caleb Robinson, owned by Bent Key Ventures. So you're only in negotiation with 4 people. If we stop saying YouTube is doing this, we're going to get a lot more accurate in the people. Who's doing it? Who's using YouTube as a filler?
Yeah.
I want to know. And also that leaves out unnecessary collateral damage.
Yeah. Well, like I was saying, it's like they send out on YouTube, you know, they send out representatives to conservatives, and they're patsies for the higher-ups. But when you get coming back to you time and time again, you know, if you did what company X, if you did what company, meaning big conservative companies who have meetings with them, if you did that, we might be able to get you remonetized or at least not suspended. And that's what, I mean, this is the thing.
Is there any examples you could give us about key issues specifically about that?
Yeah, anything relating, you know, back in the day on trans issues. You know, for example, we had a character like we did for a long time. Trenny Bane was a character that we did. It was Bane Dark Knight series, and the whole idea was an uprising. You know, Arkham Asylum against YouTube. They said you can't do that anymore. There was one where they said you can't sell off-site the socialism shirt that we had, which wasn't even on YouTube. The socialism was for fig shirt. You don't want to know the funny story about that? I've never seen John laugh so hard. Was we started selling on the website because socialism is for figs. It's a play on words. You may not like it, but people also need to know Che Guevara executed gays, right? This is a guy, when you wear a Che Guevara shirt, you're wearing a Hitler who was less successful in being charismatic and duping people. Not saying Hitler was successful. I'm saying he was a genocidal maniac. So, of course, we're mocking him. YouTube says, well, you can't do that. That shirt is hate speech. It's off the platform. So what we ended up selling at the Crowder shop was a mystery box. And I get a call from one of the most senior executives at YouTube, and I go, what? They go, we know what's in the box. And I was like, I'm thinking someone in Silicon Valley is opening it like,
There's no way
and
that
so we
call
stopped
happened.
selling, but that's something that's completely off the platform. But the point is, right, there needs to be someone standing up to these giant organizations. And when you say, like Jeremy said in his video, well, you know, we've only met with Susan Wojcicki once, and we were really going in and defending Steve. I was like, okay, hold on a second. Are you the biggest, most influential, fastest-growing conservative network in the world, or did you spend time going in and fighting for the little guy and were completely ineffectual? You can't have both. One of those things is true. The inconsistencies are the issue here, and that's a tactic of the left. Here's I fully expect them to come out and say, this is a lie, switch the narrative from the phone call, switch the narrative from the money. Now that that's gone, probably a hit list like the Vox Apocalypse, probably get personal. This is why people don't speak out. This is why good people don't run for office, and we shouldn't be doing that on the right. Bless you.
Thank you. I want to pull up this story right here. Story. I want to look at this email that you've shown me.
Yeah.
The Daily Wire tried poaching one of your employees, and what would make this significant is if this happened after your negotiations.
Yes,
okay, so after you're talking,
and it's not the first time that this has happened.
But real quick. After you were talking with the Daily Wire about potentially doing a deal, they reach out to your employees. And I'm looking at the email right here saying that, you know, they came across the social media manager. Yeah. Hey, they got a great opportunity. Join the new counterculture. It says they emailed your staff and said, come work for us instead.
Right.
That doesn't not sound like something a friend would do.
No, and the only reason
God, it's so cringe. That doesn't sound like something a friend would do.
Receipts from third parties who are blameless victims, right?
I don't know. Maybe I'm just capitalism brain. If I get an offer from a different company to get poached, it's up to me to say yes or no to that contract and join the other company. And if I don't want to, that's not a bad sign of the other company. That's them recognizing my talent. No? Is that not what that is? Is that not game recognizing game?
Said you can show that. He came right to me and said, hey, look, this came up. I said, hey, they'll probably offer you more money, and I'll write you a letter of recommendation. He said, no, I know you guys want to be monetized. And the issue that took place.
Why are you following the guidelines, Crowder? Why are you following them?
They're like, well,
why are you following the guidelines now, Crowder? Why didn't you swear?
Do it here. That was the one thing that we talked about, maybe splitting, I think, at some point. And I said, I have Gary, and he's awesome. So he was named.
How long after you did that call about the term sheet did they send this email?
I don't know the day. I know it was definitely after the talks completely fell through. So you probably have the timeline, but what happened is there was a week where the election happened, right? Rumble, because we were banned from YouTube going into the election, which I'm sure was a chance, just happenstance. And then we did that, and I thought I was really kind of securing the future, for my children. Because I'm like, okay, there are other players in this space. People kind of know I'm a free agent. Our performance on election night is going to be big. Because last time it was the biggest election stream ever, right? It was like 16, 17 million people across the platforms. We're only doing it on Rumble, so wanted to do that, and I was really nervous. Okay, it went well. Then I did 2 shows at the Ryman, the original Grand Ole Opry, in Nashville, and some Daily Wire people came out, and the shows went really well. I mean, people need, eventually release a special, but if people need to see the standing O. Yeah, standing O to both shows, and Dave was there and did fantastically well too.
Oh no!
And you think, okay, you can't do any better.
Ruben?
No, it was just me and Dave.
Oh, Dave Landau.
Dave Landau, yeah.
Oh, great.
No. Yeah. I guess it could have been Ruben. I guess he does comedy stuff with Peterson. Yeah, Landau. And then after
you gave me that look.
No, I was just very confused. I thought that there were hallucinogens in here from because that's the first thing he asked me. He's like, "Have you ever taken hallucinogens?"
Said it wasn't in there.
Then after that,
trusted you.
So
after that, we'd had those conversations about like this. These are the sticking points, right? And please, like, we got to figure out a better way to do this because it stifles the movement. After that, it was, we're not going to be able to come to any kind of terms, and that was for sure. After that conversation, I made one final plea. Final plea, and that called like just take me off the table. Promise me you won't do it to other people. And the question is, look, was your understanding when you invest money, when you subscribe, was your understanding that all conservative talent out there, nearly all, are penalized if they're demonetized? Was that your understanding?
God, I do wish, the only wish I had with the contract, whatever, I wish that it was, the only thing I wish for was that it was structured so that it wasn't a penalty, and instead it was just like a bonus. So it's like, if you're not demonetized on YouTube, you get a 10% bonus. And the contract was at, let's say, 30 million over the 4 years. But if you hit all your bonuses, you would get the 50 million, right? But I feel like he's using a lot of, you get penalized for getting demonetized. You're not getting penalized. You're just not making enough money. Like, that's not a penalty. You're just not making the same money. Or what they could have done is just set, like, I feel like if Crowder was just offered, what it sounds like is if Crowder was just offered a bog standard contract with no, like, if he was just offered 20 million and there was no there's no fee deductions for getting demonetized, he'd be like, oh, cool. But like, he's getting paid like a fraction of what he would have actually gotten paid.
Was that your understanding that then they are penalized if they are suspended? Then they are penalized if they don't take as many lives? Was that your understanding when you were investing in people going out there and fighting for you? Because I know the feedback that I get at these live shows with thousands of people at every event. And it's not a hard-earned dollar that I take lightly. People feel powerless. They say there's only so much I can do. At least that guy can go out and fight for me. And I'd like it to be these guys and girls, not a guy.
And for context, too, it's very important. These fees pertain to strikes and bannings on the major big tech platforms, irrespective of your viewership on the alternatives we're all trying to help.
Or subscribership.
Or subscribers or sponsors. And it's demonetization, too. That's
here's an important picture that should be painted. A lot of people are saying, Crowder, you recorded Jeremy. That's not what friends do. They're surprised by it. But here's what I'm seeing now. And, putting myself in the middle of this. You're
always in the middle of it,
Of course, that's what I do, right? But look, you go to the Daily Wire.
Phil, no, your term sheet. Okay.
You go to the Daily Wire. They say, here's a term sheet. You go, whoa, this is crazy. Right. Hey, you can't do this. The Daily Wire then says, all of a sudden, not also, but a few months later, Crowder registers Stop Big Con. Then he calls and secretly records Jeremy. He was setting us up. This email right here,
because it's a bug. It's just a basic. It's just the most basic contract on the fucking face of the earth. Like, calm the fuck down. Jesus. It was a preliminary contract.
You talked with the Daily Wire and said, here's our issue. Here's what we can't do. And they said, okay. And then sometime later, they try poaching.
No, they said, if that's the issue, this is our business model, and you don't know business.
But then they try and poach one of your employees.
Wow, because it's almost like it is their business model. Make money off of YouTube, Apple, blah, blah, whatever, blah, blah, blah. So if you can't make money off YouTube, we can't pay you the same amount.
And that could be an accident, but it's not the first time.
Yeah. Well, but you said
you can show us some other way.
Mention him by name.
But you didn't.
And employee poaching is considered vulture-ish as it is, but it is business.
And by the way, there's a huge difference between employees reaching out to you in a company and you fielding it,
available.
which happens, versus going to someone who is clearly not available, who is mentioned by name. saying this guy is awesome. And Gary's hilarious because he's Russian. He was born and raised in Russia until he was 13, but he seems totally American, no accent. But then occasionally you realize like he'll say something out of context, like I can kill 2 birds and get stoned or something.
That's me. But I'm Polish.
Mixed metaphors.
So were you raised in Poland?
Yes.
Okay, so there you go. No one would guess.
They
But
call
then-
it Lucas.
So those first few years, did you have those disconnects where people are like, "Are you not?" And you're like, "I don't understand whatever."
First few years, he still does it.
I still
Does he
do it
still
all the
do it?
time. Yeah, all the time. It's just,
But look,
man.
look. This is the point I'm trying to make. The picture painted so far was that you all of a sudden set up this plan to get the Daily Wire, and they were blindsided by it. But it actually seems like now there was a bit of a back and forth in that you said, "Hey guys, I don't like this." Then they say, "Well, that's a business." Then they try to poach one of your employees. Then you're like, okay,
No,
this
that's not
is-
the time.
It
That's
sounds like.
It's been going on for years.
But
everyone in the space knows it. Everyone in the space knows it.
Whoa,
This is not an issue
That's
of-
totally different than their timeline.
had-
Their timeline was that. Did they not read the timeline? Their timeline was that Crowder never sent a counteroffer. Daily Wire, they said like Crowder said something, and they're like, "Well, we can't do that because it's not a part of our business model," which is basically like, "Give me money, even if I don't make any money." And then they're like, "Well, we can't do that. We need you to make money so we can pay you." And he was like, no.
Had a polite conversation with you and said, "We're sorry, we disagree," and then you devised a plan to come after him. There was then the Daily Wire comes and tries to poach an employee. Then you guys are like, these kind of business practices can't continue.
No, and it was always about the terms, and it's stupid to say that this was our plan to get subscribers. I'm sorry, like I get a little bit pissed off with this because that means that you didn't pay any attention at all to Mug Club Forever. That was us getting in touch with our subscribers and making sure that whatever home we went to on our own with somebody else, we were going to have access to the people that paid for our content. This was not a plan that was hatched to make sure that we could ride off into freedom and do whatever the hell we wanted with this really great email.
Fuck, what the hell?
It would be the,
Mug Club
the
Forever
hardest
was
way
done for that. We said it.
Yeah.
It was clear.
And you saw the numbers there.
It sounds like you guys are like right on the precipice of creating your own network or your own website where people pay you $10 a month and just get access
And I
to
really
that.
don't want to have to do that. Like, here's the thing, right? Wouldn't it be great if you could link arms with the self-professed, most powerful people on our side who are supposedly fighting for us? But the problem is when they say, we have no interest in doing that, you go, wait, hold on a second. Here's the good news. I bring tidings of great joy. We can get just as many viewers on Rumble as you can on YouTube. And by the way, stay on YouTube.
Again, those numbers on Rumble they feel inflated. They look inflated, and there's no evidence that Rumble even generates that much. Even if the views are the same, you're not generating the same money from Rumble. There's no way you're what is it called? Ad revenue? But I forget what the fuck it's called. Like the we call it pay-per-view.
Just don't punish conservatives for being demonetized. They go, this is the business. We know. No one else does. I don't want to start a network.
if you guys could counteroffer, what would be the things you would counteroffer right now? What deal would you guys take from a big company? Let's not just say the Daily Wire. Let's just say there's another company. What's your ideal deal?
Gerald can take. 'Cause here's the problem. I would take a deal. I would have taken a deal that was less money, and more honest, and more freedom, and not penalizing other people. He steps in because I'm like, yeah, it sounds like good money. He's like, you don't know what our expenses are, Gio. I'm like, I don't know, Gerald. You tell me.
There are a lot of different terms that you would have to negotiate, and this has been the sticking point from the very beginning, and it kind of goes back to something that you said about Candace getting these questions. It is just 100%. You don't start with these terms in the contract. Again, it was like, oh, it's a term sheet, negotiate. Of course we negotiate. I've been doing that. I understand that is part of the process. That's what you do.
It doesn't sound like you did.
You're going to start there, and we say, hey, that's not something that should be in this movement, and you're like, well, we're not coming back to the table. By the way, after the Ryman, we were expecting them to come back and have changed that and made an offer that we could then start negotiating from.
They gave you that's what the basic offer's for.
So this is the term sheet right
You're
here.
You're the one who was supposed to redline.
Is that the first one?
I don't know.
That one that was sent, I guess, October 5th.
It says non-binding term sheet, confidential. It does say.
The only one?
No.
I mean,
you're the one who has to ask for the new one. You're the one who has to make the new one.
Any of the major platforms issue a strike, you would have the fee reduced. It gives examples of the major platforms are. I'm assuming that's not limited to. In which case, it looks like they're basically saying what at their discretion they determine what a major platform is.
Yes.
And then, so if Twitter gave you a suspension, they dock your fee by 25%, even though Twitter is not a major driver of.
They would dock your fee of Twitter.
You know what the good news is?
No.
They clarified and put in writing.
No. And by the way, I said that.
It's the first offer! I'm going to blow my brains out, dude.
You get an offer from somebody else.
It's a non-binding offer. You don't. I don't even think
By
you
the way,
can
do me a
sign
favor.
it.
I just need to understand this because one of the arguments that was put forth is, well, this is just a standard starting point for everybody. Okay.
I don't play those games. I don't do that.
Hold on. No, but it's not just a term sheet. It's not just a term sheet.
Okay.
Everybody
I'll
else,
ask the question.
the production comes out of you. You knew Steven well enough to know that he had his own production team, and therefore the costs would be borne by him, but everything else was just standard.
That's the
And
requirement.
our apologies
right.
for leaving it in there, because that was one of the claims that was made. This is just the standard contract, negotiating start point of term sheet that we always give to everybody. Right. It's like, yeah, but you knew Steven well enough to know he did all of his production, but then you're saying the rest of that was
It's a
just
production
standard.
company. It's a production house, right? It's everything. It's 25 employees.
It's just disingenuous, guys. It's not real.
Well, do they not know better, or is it dishonest?
It's not about knowing better or not knowing better. It's the very first bog standard offer that they give to everyone just to show you that they're interested. You then negotiate with them based on that offer. That's why they asked you to redline it.
Honest. Let me ask you this. Do you really think, I will say this, the only thing I've said about Ben is brilliant. He's one of the smartest people I've ever known. I don't care what he says, okay? I still hope the best for the guy. And by the way, for people out there, and I know that they're anti-Semitic people, I've not said there's none of this controlled opposition. I 100% believe that Ben believes what he says, even if we disagree. None of that is taking place. The problem is when you demand that other people fall into line. But do you really believe for a second that Ben is so ignorant that he thinks that's $50 million a year in my pocket basketball money? Do you think Ben believes that?
He knows better.
Yeah, he said that. Is that honest?
Yeah.
Is that honest? Now, if someone did that with you and said, Tim Pool is a money-grubbing prick, and we offered him basketball money, and someone came out and called you a little bitch, right? and that literally happened, and you had the ability to say, and you'd seen this happen to other people behind the scenes for years, and you said, that's not going to be me. You had the ability to prove that it was verifiably false, which no one is arguing. Would you do it?
Of course. Granted, I think there's a tactical difference between us as well in that I think you play warrior and I play rogue. Again, over your heads, but Ian's sitting there going like, right.
I do have an original copy of Chrono Trigger. So
hell yeah, dog.
Yes.
I would just put.
And by the way, he met a girl who grew up on my block. Apparently, I have her copy from Super Nintendo, like Star Wars: Return of the Jedi.
Yes, Elaine Stokes. Yes,
I'm surprised she didn't speak a word of English when I knew her when she was young.
Yep.
She's been holding on to that for a little while.
Okay, sorry, I didn't miss it. It's crazy, small world.
30 years.
My strategy would have been to poop on the contract, just being totally transparent and honest here.
Yeah.
But to bring it back, like what would be the perfect contract? What conditions? What terms did you guys agree to?
I want to address.
I'll tell you the contracts I would offer someone else.
I want to address.
Oh, here he comes.
About,
he's gonna say it.
Would
he's gonna
I
say the most
prove
dog
him wrong
shit
if I
contract
could?
on the planet.
I suppose what happened differently for us.
So was that vitriolic?
If it was that vitriolic.
Yeah.
I didn't. Granted, the Daily Wire outed themselves, and they said it was because people assumed it was them. After I had a conversation,
No, it's not because people assumed it was them. It's because they looked at the thing and went, "Oh, that's our piece of paper." That's weird.
With the Daily Wire, my determination was they do business in a way that I don't agree with, but I like that they're doing things that have a cultural impact in the positive. Thus, I'm going to build my thing the way I think it's supposed to be.
Right.
Let them make the things they make with the people who agree with being a part of that, and hopefully, even if they're not 100% in the right direction, if it's 1% producing cultural net positive, I'll just have to be the force that pushes it.
But what if it's 80% net negative?
That's your view, right?
I don't know. I think. Well, again, the view should be the people who, the investors in our case, right? There are no other investors, right? I own 100% of my company. We've entered into licensing agreements where people have temporary ability to monetize the subscribers and the content therein, right? We still have all the content when we left the Blaze. We still have that because there was a period of time. The issue there is what we're talking about is penalizing people on behalf of big tech. Was that your impression? Because that's not the impression that's given. And you know what? There are a lot of things that you can get. And I really want this to be done. Just pledge that we won't penalize people on behalf of big tech. We can talk about it. Hey, there are ways to do it with Rumble. I know you've talked about a decentralized solution to people subscribing, right? And I think there's good with that. There are also issues because people have so many different places where they have to pay right now, and they kind of want to get one portal. Hopefully there's a way to figure that out. Here's what you do as far as a contract. If it's someone who's coming in its entire production house, I've been having contracts negotiated. You said you were in SAG 2000. So I was in since I was 12 years old and had agents negotiating contracts and term sheets. I know what a term sheet looks like. Every time we do a live show. By the way, I'll be in Louisville, Kentucky, February 10th. I think we're adding a show on Thursday. You can go buy tickets on the website. Every time I do a live show, there's a term sheet. And the term sheet is, this is what happens with live shows. Okay? There's a minimum guarantee. Yeah. And the minimum guarantee is no matter 5 people show up, if it's your dad and your Aunt Tilly, we pay you this, and there's a percentage of the gate. And if you want more, if you're willing to bet on yourself, right, you say lower that guarantee and take a higher portion of the gate. I go in and say, don't give me a guarantee, and I'll just take the gate. And they sell their drinks, right? They end up making more money. We're giving them less risk. What you do is, Luke, to answer your question, you can present it if it's a production company where you want them to incur all of the risk, all of the costs. Okay, you do a rev split where there's upside for both sides. Or some people want security, right? We have 1099s who work at the company. We have employees. Some people want security, and so they become salaried, and they get health insurance. They get a 401k. You can provide two options. You can do a rev split, or you can do an employee agreement for people who want to do that. In this case, they want to do employee-type constraints. And again, none of this matters as far as I can't be clear enough. I said, take me off the table here. The issue is entirely the enforcement of punitive practices through mandate at the most powerful company. But you can do it those ways. And there are a million ways to skin a cat. You can make that work, and that's the way that it's done. We both know. In the liberal cesspool that is Hollywood, where everyone is out trying to screw somebody, they still know that you can't do that. They still know that that's not
the decision
enforceable.
to remain monetized rests with the creator and always stays there. It's not a part of the model because to your 51%, yes, that's fine unless we fast forward 5 years. 5 years from now, Daily Wire is undisputed #1, 5 million subscribers, and big tech turns the switch. Would it be better to course correct a little bit now with a little bit of pain, or would it be better to wait until it's too late?
It's better to do it now because Microsoft could buy Daily Wire tomorrow.
Oh, I fucking removed it off the fucking map. God fucking damn it.
That's a really good point.
Or BlackRock.
BlackRock could buy Rumble tomorrow.
Well,
like Rumble is not safe. It's a private company that's all centralized. It's very
well, that's
dangerous.
a public company. And here's the one thing that I like about, because look, Rumble tweeted out like, hey, we offer these non-restrictive contracts. I think was it France? Right,
Yeah,
Rumble's
I
a
think it was
public
France.
company. Think of the balls it takes. Where I think it was the government of France said you have to start changing content, and they said, right, when you're a public company and you tell an entire government, fine, ban us. That's the kind of balls that people are like. And these people, and by the way, the guy who runs is a Canadian. The CEO, he's not even, I don't think he's super conservative. He just sees the writing on the wall. Why did those people get it? Why? Because he's been under the, I would say, tyranny now when you see someone like Trudeau. Just because he doesn't blackface and he can't throw a jab doesn't mean he's not a tyrant, right? People have lived under that tyranny. They go, we can't let that happen here. So Rumble gets it.
Tyranny of
They tell
Canada
France to go
based in
fornicate
true.
themselves
Oh my
with a
God.
wire brush. But the people who take money from hard-earned conservative Americans who are wondering how they can fight back, how they can have a voice, don't see it. Do they not see it? Or is it the business model, right? You can't have.
That's what I'm wondering. Did you feel like your buddy, and then what I mean your buddy, like Jeremy, you and Jeremy are friends-ish or friends or whatever, but that he lowballed you, he knows your value and he lowballed you, and you're like, dude, if you're going to do that to me, I'm going scorched earth. I'll do everything legal in my.
It wasn't the lowball. It wasn't the lowball. It was the, hey, look, let's just sit down and talk about how you can do this without mandating through punitive practices against, not some, according to him in his video, all conservative content creators. Let's
how do you
find
make
a
money?
different
Crowder,
way.
how do you make
Because
money?
There's no future in this. There's a lot there that's permissible, right? Business, money, I get it.
You haven't told you how you would do it.
And
you might get
and
into
you
it
know
soon.
that. Everyone knows that.
But it still doesn't explain
but
like how he would do it.
What's really hard to deal with is
How do you?
there was a period like I talked about with Gerald Note where I was super depressed.
How do you make money?
Felt kind of hopeless because this has been a long time in the making, and you knock on one door and you have people you think are on your side. You know, it's, no, wait, this is how it works. And then because you don't see behind, the curtain, you hear that we're fighting back against big tech, and you see this offer, and you go, oh, there's no future here. And the response to this is not right has always been money, 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 money. I can't stress it enough. So it's not about the money.
So what is the future in your mind then? What needs to be done?
What first needs to be done is people to mean what they say. And if you are taking money from conservatives out there, under the guise that you are fighting big tech, start fucking fighting big tech. Start with that, okay? I don't know about and I know that when I say this, by the way, there are going to be 4 or 5 hatchet men coming from the Daily. I understand that, by the way. Have you seen anyone else in these videos? This is the first time Gerald's been here because I'm like, look, you handle the finances more than I do. It's me. It's 2-on-1, it's 3-on-1, it's 4-on-1. And gee golly, we thought we were friends. And you know what? I'm not going to call anyone a bitch. I mean what I said. Andrew Klavan's one of my all-time favorite people. I think Jordan Peterson is unbelievable. I'd go to the wall for that guy. I think Ben Shapiro is brilliant. Never met Candace Owens. Michael Knowles, my experience with him, I don't know him as well. I really like him. I like a lot of these people.
Good singer.
Is he a good singer?
He can play guitar too.
Well, he has that voice. I mean, Andrew Klavan, he told me he had that voice since he was like 6. Where he was like, well, teacher, on Parent-Teacher Appreciation Day, I'll give you an apple. And this is how you talk. And it's genuine. It's genuine. Here's the thing. Keep doing it if that's what they want. I'm not going to. At a certain point, my tolerance will run out. So send 4, send 5. At a certain point, don't send anyone you expect back in one piece.
But what will you make, right? You talked in the beginning you were saying something about it's hard for everyone to just pay all across the board randomly to different people. Like if you want to support a creator, you're on one website, you're on another website.
Yes, yeah.
So how would you?
It's a subscription fatigue, right? You have this thing with like Netflix and Hulu. So can I answer your question with a question to Crash Test Dummies here? That doesn't offend you, right?
He does look like one.
Boys and black.
There you go.
I love that there's national treasures.
What's your question?
My question for him is because he said like this might be a solution. You have this idea, or you're creating an actual product. I don't know all of it.
Yeah.
Of a decentralized way to subscribe to people because, and also people who get to keep their subscribers. By the way, this isn't Daily Wire. It is industry standard in the conservative sphere. You don't get to know how many subscribers you have. You don't get to take them with you, which only hurts people who are paying if you end up leaving, if you end up not being with the network.
Yeah.
That's industry standard, not Daily Wire. Again, Stop BaitCon was not just about Daily Wire. You don't even know. You don't even get to reach them. That is the standard, not just there. And you mentioned something before the show, and I'm a little ignorant as to what it is. Forgive me. You said it's like this decentralized ability for people to sort of an anti-Patreon is what I think you said.
Yeah, it is just basically doing what Patreon does, but without a Patreon middleman. So it'd be a software packet that you download, install on your computer, and then you can start uploading videos through the software packet to Rumble as a server or YouTube as a server, unlisted, the videos, and then people would go to your website where you have a front end hosted with this packet, and they can subscribe $10 a month. Then they can see on your website the unlisted videos from the other sites. It's pretty rudimentary. It's what Tim's using, a system like that. He's not using the tech.
That doesn't sound rudimentary at all. That was like Chip Douglas with a remote control. Here's basic cable stuff. It's incredibly complicated.
Here's the idea. Here's the idea.
To pull off.
The idea right now is that you're an independent creator.
Yeah.
You go to Patreon, you go to Locals.
Yeah.
You go to someone else's company, you sign up, there's the infrastructure, you give them 10%.
Right.
I've done the math. 10% is steep, but they're trying to run a business, have employees. So I get it.
Yeah. Sure.
So what we were talking about a long time ago, make the software, you get your own server space, your cost. You get your own domain, your cost. You install that software for free, open source, and boom, instantly your website is a clone of a subscription service website with an easy-to-use backend for you that networks with anyone else who uses it. You can also blacklist certain sites from your site if you're like, I don't want my site to recommend this,
Skittles
show.
and rainbows.com.
Exactly.
Like
very nasty stuff right there. So, or it's just you let the algorithm recommend whatever the recommend, like similar words and phrases. So what this does is, if I go to your website and you want to be included in the network, people will see, and this could be bad for business. Some people might want to do it. They will see like recommended Timcast IRL episode with Steven Crowder and be like, oh, I'd like to watch that show.
Oh,
too.
it's all the characters.
Creating.
I realize that.
It's so YouTube's one of the powerful things about YouTube is that it recommends shows after shows.
Yeah.
And that recommendation
every single time you
algorithm.
watch one of my shows, it's Seth Meyers.
Oh, wow. Right.
We
and
get
so
Lex
YouTube,
Friedman.
This is my point.
Yeah, everyone gets
That's
Lex.
way better than Seth Meyers.
But
Lex Friedman's good.
This is the point. It used to be legitimate. It used to be that if you watched Crowder, you get recommended similar shows or more Crowder. Now they're driving everyone away.
Right. Yeah.
And so they're taking away the natural networking marketing value.
Yeah.
So our idea was create it decentralized. No one gets a cut of your money. That's your business. You got to spend money on your bandwidth. That's your business.
Sure.
But it's free, open source, and it rips away from the centralization and creates.
So I really like that. Now, here's the one thing too that Gerald kind of knows is what's always been true north to me is the viewer, right? As a person watching, is how do they get the most value for their money? And there are so many places to subscribe right now.
It's too fragmented.
Yes, and but I also understand the danger of a centralized power.
Right.
But if there would be a way for, kind of like you were talking about with Maker, for there to be an alliance where maybe there's some kind of a price break or discount if you get to subscribe to these other creators, right? So that you don't have to do $6 on a Patreon here, or $5, on Locals here. And by the way, nothing wrong with it. I'm just saying people feel like there's this payment fatigue, this subscription fatigue.
An evolution, though.
If we want to fight the left, right? Think about just what they call the stream with Batista. He's in his canoe, talking about like Disney, ESPN, and what is it? Disney and Hulu. Right? That's a value added. And I think this is what was so disheartening was really hoping that we could
I'm
do
actually
that
gonna die.
in the conservative movement where people can kind of get access to a portal and support the people that
This
want
sword's
to.
actually gonna kill me.
I don't know that it's possible. But if there would be some way for the because for the viewer, what's ideal is to be able to get access to more people that they
always
want
take
rather than
chicken.
having it because the price adds up.
Right now,
that's hard.
it's like $10 for Tim, $10 for you. With this tech that I'm building, we haven't had the multi subscription system set up, but you could do something where it's like 10 for him, 10 for you, or 18 for both of you. Then you each get 9.
Right.
You'll eventually have to take some sort of loss discount if you're going to run a packet. Otherwise, it would just be 20
Right,
for
but you
2.
hit critical
It's hard to
mass.
figure out that
right.
number,
You hit critical
too.
mass.
Right.
Yeah, it is. It's tough to figure it out. But there are ways to do it. Obviously, people on the left have done it to some degree. The worst thing that I will say, the thing that really is YouTube. Is it YouTube Red or YouTube Premium? What do they call
Premium.
it now?
Yeah,
I tell you,
Red,
I tell you what though. You know what sucks about it? That's actually a really good deal. You get YouTube Music, which replaces Spotify. You get YouTube TV, which replaces cable and Sling, and you get HBO Max. You're like,
But they're
dude,
subsidized.
Who
yes,
is it?
Yes,
No.
they are subsidized. But guess what?
Oh.
So are these companies on the right.
All right.
But they're subsidizing it in a way
Sie
that is not
essen
foundationally
Bellpizza.
sound for a move forward.
Let me tell you
man.
something that really.
I feel like this should require hallucinogens going forward. Like, man, this
I'm
is
so happy to if you're interested. We'll
Something.
What is happening?
somewhere.
He's game.
Let me tell you guys something that is kind of crazy to me. And people don't believe. There are no investors in Timcast. There's only me as the principal of the entire company, sole owner, sole board member, president, CEO, treasurer, chairman, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's staff. You know, I have a COO. We've got people who work here, but I own literally all of it, control all of it, with no outside investment. It's literally just. I started making.
And you're
money.
not even Jewish.
But I'm not gonna
Yeah,
beat him because I'm gonna
I'm just
die.
the anti-Semites in there. Like, by the way, we're not talking about. No one
Well,
we're
that's
talking
a
about is
point.
even Jewish. Just to be clear.
That's a point I make all the time. There are people who have been successful in media who aren't. I don't know why they have that conspiracy belief.
Yeah.
But
Why not?
it was shocking for me to find out that these big alternatives only exist because some powerful industrialist or billionaire decided I'm going to spend money. But that money comes with their influence. Now, the only issue I have with that
fucking
is
barf.
that we don't know what their influence is.
And you
If you come to timcast.com, you know the whole influence and driving force behind this is literally just me.
Yeah.
If you're a customer here, as a member or whatever, you're supporting us, it is literally me in charge of everything. But a lot of these other companies,
I need the
you
food.
don't know who's behind the scenes putting money in and saying, hey guys,
I need
I
food.
want to see this. I understand how businesses work. I understand how investment works. But you won't know.
And if you knew, it's ball retractingly terrifying. I mean that. There's some information again that you're not going to open third parties. That's probably going to be coming out in the next 6 months, year, that will shock people, startle people. I could tell you that, but would I have to provide receipts, and would that be a betrayal? That's the issue, right? I've given you a lot of information that you can publicly audit, and I think that's important. I'm not going to pull people in. Like I said, Gary said you can use it. I can't show you the 3, 4, 5 other instances just in the last 2 years where that's happened. It is absolutely terrifying. But what was the crazy idea you were saying? I thought you just came up with a business plan or something. It seemed
No.
Oh, okay.
It's just, I was saying it's crazy to me.
That's not so crazy. That's totally reasonable. I guess that's why I'm throwing.
No.
Like-
What's crazy to me is that we've gotten to the point we have without that
Yeah.
when seemingly no
That's
one else
true.
does.
It's really
But
easy,
here's
too.
what I want to say, Stephen.
Really
I'm
easy,
looking.
dude.
I'm looking at. I don't think it's really
To have the
easy.
website rolling with subs.
Oh, no,
there's
no,
some
no,
back.
right.
There need like 2
yeah.
people.
Oh yeah,
Hey,
and one
this
thing I should-
business
one-
is hard,
one-
man.
One thing
What
I
I-
should say, we've had a lot of offers too from people who like run these sort of credit card processing, these platforms, right?
Yeah.
Offering to give us better rates as well. So there are a lot of people who've come forward. Like I said, it's not about Daily Wire wasn't even the highest offer. Just to be
But
clear.
here's what I want to say.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say this right in front of every single person. I think you're gonna make $100 million a year.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely insane.
I think I'm
I think
right.
you're- but I would never demand that. Just to be clear.
Great gospel. Permanently
Did I tell
allows
you that?
to level up.
Yes,
Wait,
for
what?
crying out
Permanently
loud.
allows-
You're trying to give them a heart attack.
Permanently allows to
I-
level up
I-
weapons
I've seen
beyond
your
their limit.
numbers.
Oh, okay.
I know.
Can be enabled
Look,
in stage
we've got
control.
175,000 people watching on a show that normally gets 40 to 45,000. 130,000 live viewers, quadrupling the live viewership we get because you came to talk about something that is important to you.
Yeah.
You have people who are not only fans of your content, who are entertained by it, but also believe in you. Looking at your Mug Club numbers, I think you launch this thing. You maybe not. Look, it's gonna snowball rolling downhill. I think you launch this thing and you're making $3 to $5 million per month right off the get-go.
And by the way, you mean the production company.
Right, you put your staff, your
And I'm at a
employees,
fork in
and
the
your
road.
budgets.
I'm at a fork in the road, which is
You're gonna need a lot of money for
Psych!
You're gonna get a lot of people to sign up.
I could walk away, and I understand this isn't lost on me. The
Psych!
only way people will 100% believe what I say, and that there's no ulterior motive, which is what I tried to do in the negotiations, like take me off
Psych!
the table, this is why this is a sticking point, is if I walk away from this forever. Is if I never monetize again, and I just go back off into the sunset, just do stand up, maybe do a once a
getting
week
really
show,
boring.
something like that, so I can continue selling out the venues, and I could do that. And Gerald knows that I strongly considered that at one point.
And I think he was the one I'm saying, like, yeah, but then if you do that, then this will just all blow over in 2 months, and it'll be the same problem. So I get the question of authenticity, but I would ask you if this is the easy decision, if this is the easy route to make. Route to take, could have just taken the money, shut up, could have gone off, and I don't think it's $100 million. I think you're absolutely insane.
No, I'm not.
I think he slipped you.
Nope. Look, we know the Daily Wire subscriber numbers. They have 1 million paying subscribers. It's between $7 and $13 per month to be a member there. They've talked about their yearly revenues.
$13. Okay.
For their video content, I believe it's $13.
They run some promos and stuff like that, but
Yeah,
different
right.
tiers.
And it's like, you know, look, I think let's.
Luke wants to talk about the IRS.
I think
and Epstein, Maxwell can.
I'm saying, for one, the easy route for you would have absolutely been sign the deal, take the money and shut up, let everyone else worry about all the problems, and go send the beat to the coconut and just do the bare minimum.
Yeah,
but I think if you go the hard way, which running a company, especially with I think the size of memberships you're going to have, is going to be very difficult and time consuming, but just, you know, make Gerald do all the hard things.
Well, if you continue down this route, then there's got to be other people. Right? We have to have other shows on there. I could have just gone off and done it and just kept Muggle. But Gerald, it's like, look, either I'm going to leave at this point, or we can't just complain and bitch. We have to do it better, and that's kind of where we are. And by the way, we still haven't decided what it is that we're going. It's a tough decision to make. I own 100% of Mug Club, always have. We did the Mug Club, so we now know how many people are out there. And we really clear, do not go to Mug Club unless you're currently in Mug Club. We're going to double capture, double opt in, culled the list, so we know. Like, don't go. Is there a newsletter? No. Are you going to spam? Nothing. Any updates? Only when and where and if Mug Club returns. And this is a little bit of the Young Frankenstein. Ovaltine? Nothing.
Let me ask you. Do you think that when you are going to launch something independent, it's going to be Mug Club, but then you're going to add on shows?
What the
Do you think
fuck
you'll be
did I
bigger
just
than
do?
I don't care.
No, real question. Based on your memberships, based on the amount of views you get, do you think you will be bigger than? I'm not saying
It would, if I decided that let me answer it this way. I want to be done with this by the time I'm 40 as far as hosting the show on air. The last thing I want to do is overstay your welcome, and then move to a, I wouldn't say like necessarily like a Harvey Weinstein or like a Bruckheimer, but more like a Suge Knight.
How old are you now?
35.
Okay.
So and I want to be able to pass that torch.
When's your birthday?
July.
July. Okay.
So I want to be able to pass that torch. Right now there is no ability to, because you now realize there's no ability for people to come up and do. But it would be really hard for you to do what you do now today. You know that, right?
Yeah.
And it'd be harder. It'd be impossible for someone to do what I do. I don't want to pull the ladder up behind me. So I want to be able to move into production role. But really, what motivates me is being able to pass that mantle and make a difference. I guarantee you, if we were to do it, it'd be within striking distance of the big boys, which I'd be fine with. But as long as we do something that we believe in,
Okay, am I done here?
I promise we will never demand people's YouTube monetization. We will never punish them if they're not. It has to be something fair. And has to
Oh, never mind. He's just explaining his absolutely horrible, unattainable YouTube thing. So let's say somebody's on YouTube and they're only streaming on YouTube and they generate zero money for you. How do you keep them around, Crowder? Are you going to pay them anyways?
to be us, not shortchanging.
Very difficult and time consuming, but just, you know, make Gerald do all the hard things.
Well, if we continue down this route, then there's got to be other people. Right? We have to have other shows on there. I could have again just gone off and done it and just kept Muggle. But Gerald, it's like, look, either I'm going to leave at this point, or we can't just complain and bitch.
This is the last
we have to do it better, and that's kind of where we are. And by the way, we still haven't decided what it is that we're going. It's a tough decision to make. Yeah. I own 100% of Mug Club, always have. We did the Mug Club Forever, so we now know how many people are out there. You know, we were really clear. We're like, do not go to Mug Club Forever unless you are currently in Mug Club. We're going to send out really double captcha, double opt-in, culled the list, so we know. We're like, don't go. And is it a newsletter? No. Are you going to get any spam? Nothing. Any updates? Only when and where and if Mug Club returns. And this is a little bit of the young Frankenstein. Ovaltine? Nothing.
Let me ask you. Do you think that when you are going to launch something independent, it's going to be Mug Club, but then you're going to add on shows. Do you think you'll be bigger than the Daily Wire?
I don't care.
No. Real question. Based on your memberships, based on the amount of views you get, do you think you will be bigger than? I'm not saying this as
it would if I decided that let me answer it this way. I've wanted to be done with this by the time I'm 40, as far as hosting the show on air. The last thing you want to do is overstay your welcome, and then move to I wouldn't say like necessarily like a Harvey Weinstein or like a Bruckheimer, but more like a Suge Knight. You know,
how old are you now?
35.
Okay.
So and I want to be able to pass that torch.
When's your birthday?
July.
Okay.
Yeah. So I want to be able to pass that torch. Right now, there is no ability to, because you now realize there's no ability for people to come up and do. But it would be really hard for you to do what you do now today. You know that, right?
Yeah. And harder and harder.
And it'd be harder. Yeah. It'd be impossible for someone to do what I do. I don't want to pull the ladder up behind me. So I want to be able to move into a production role. But really, what motivates me is being able to pass that mantle and make a difference. I guarantee you, if we were to do it,
that's actually the most useless thing.
Be within striking distance of the big boys, which I'd be fine with. But as long as we do something that we believe in, and I promise we will never demand people's YouTube monetization. We will never punish them if they're not. And it has to be something fair, and it has to be us.
Okay, we're gonna never demand
the investor.
Fuck, I missed it again.
Demand people's YouTube monetization, and I promise we will never demand people's YouTube monetization. We will never punish them if they're not. And it has to be something fair, and it has to be us not shortchanging the investor, meaning the people. Mug Club, it's entirely independent.
Okay, how do you pay them? If they bring in no revenue, how do you pay them, Crowder? Now he's going to say, well, through their Mug Club. We all know that paid subscriptions, unless something massively changes in recent time, paid subscriptions to things that are being streamed for free on YouTube, right? They don't have the same it's just not the same. You can't. It's just not. It's not feasible. You have to be able to make money somehow. I might literally gonna die right now.
Paying us to fight for what they believe. Whatever those numbers are, I'd accept them.
I'll tell you my prediction.
Whatever
which
those
who
numbers
knows
are.
could be worthless.
Okay. Well, that's the
Nostradamus
key.
hit me.
You launch subscription service, independent mug club. You get 300,000 hard signups at 10 or more per month. I mean, it was $10 a month for a lot of people. It's going up because of inflation, because people need raises and things like that. But let's say you did $10 a month. You're looking at like 3 million in memberships with no ad reads at all. Let's say you do programmatic reads on the podcast version, meaning you, Steven, never read a single ad. Then you're looking at another, based on your traffic, I'd estimate another $2 to $5 million.
Who are you getting advertisement from? No one wants to advertise
not
for
per month. So right off the bat, you're looking at $40 million per year. Then here's what happens. Steven Crowder then offers big players really good contracts. No BS, no fees, none of that. Out the gate, it's a legitimately good contract that gives
so
your business
whimsical.
a small cut, but gives them the lion's share for the work they produce. They're going to say, oh, I'm signing with Mug Club. The terms were incredible. I mean, Crowder's going to make money off the deal. The company's going to grow.
With the draft, with the hats.
That's right.
How do you make money off
getting
the
a lot
deal?
of money.
How?
Then
How do you
what's
make
going
money
to
off the
happen is
deal?
it's going to make it very difficult for the big companies.
Nobody's
and the
making
big
any money.
Conservative companies to
You
sign
say
these
ad.
deals.
You say
When a
ad
young
reads
trader
from
says,
who?
I appreciate
Crowder has
the
no
offer.
ad reads right
It's
now.
tempting, but Crowder's offering me twice
Who the fuck?
money with no setback.
Who's ad reading?
I would really.
Can Crowder name a single? I haven't watched Crowder that often, but does he have many ad reads currently? I don't think he has that many ad reads right now, right? Am I crazy? He has either like none or not that many ad reads.
Really like it, genuinely, and Gerald knows this. If there's someone else in the space who handles that shit, because I'm not a business guy. Here's the thing. I'm not a business guy.
Yeah.
I'm a guy who outpunted his coverage. Right, you can go back and watch with a blue bed sheet, who was doing stand-up comedy and acting, and then had my back up against the wall. Right, I would really like it if there was someone else who already has the money, who already has that ability to do it. If they can't, okay, I'll carry that torch. But I don't know. Maybe there's someone out there. Are there enough good men and enough people left? Because that's not the best use of my time. Like, it takes a lot of time to do a Goodwill Hunting. Do you have any idea how hard it is to make Schindler's List funny when you're doing a parody? You know what I mean? It's a lot of work. That's where my time is better spent. And that's where the time, by the way, of all the creators is best spent.
Yeah.
But instead,
Really bad
they're being forced to make this decision. You know you're a
Really
creative
bad.
type. You want to deal with
Nothing
numbers
bad
and
for you.
back end and business. It's exhausting.
Yeah, I have to do it.
I know.
I don't want to do it. I have to. So I'm building this technology. But
Right.
boring. That's what Jeremy Boring
And why
is.
do you have to do it?
Why? Because we need a new subscription service for creators.
It shouldn't fall upon you, though.
I have two questions.
you're
Who
willing to
else
do
is
it.
going to do it?
No.
Let's do it.
Exactly.
Exactly.
If not
it
you, who?
shouldn't-
If not me, who? If not now, when? That's the.
Let me-
situation.
And shout out to
let
Philip
me-
Fisher, the guy building this stuff. Pure genius. I'll introduce you to him soon.
Behave.
And I will say,
Oh, God.
And I will say to everybody listening, it's you. It will only ever be you. When you see a burning building,
I can't run away from that
who's
thing.
going to call this in? No. No one's going to call it in. It's going to be you.
Right.
I once watched, when I was 16 years old, I saw an old lady at a bus stop flip over, land on her back, and I paused and said, I have no idea what to do. What is happening? I look around and I'm like, I got to figure this one out. And I ran full speed to a building and just screamed, call 911, a lady's hurt. There's nobody else. You can't sit back and just cross your fingers and hope someone else will take care of the problem.
Right.
Yeah, you got to be the hero of your own story. I just wanted to ask.
That makes me feel terrible, 'cause
I just wanted to ask two quick
It's all
questions
so
for you
cringe.
guys. One, would you guys be open to doing like competitions or contests for new talent? And a lot of people are asking about not gay Jared in the comment section. Can you guys clear
Oh,
up what's happening in
behaves.
that
Let's
situation?
go.
Some
More
people are
kill
saying that
out.
there's an
More
NDA.
content. I was gonna quit.
Yeah, well, that's the thing I think Candace brought up, right? Again,
Yeah.
there's a difference between roping in third parties versus single-party consent. I think he tweeted out what happened, where he left, right? Not gay Jared. He tweeted out that he left. It was his own decision. We did a whole send-off with him in a video montage. You know, this works with, like, conspiracies. And sometimes, look, there's also a middle ground where there's, for example, like, what is the email, by the way, if people are talking about shows?
I think it's creators at Louder.
Yeah, creators at Louder. So that's actually not a bad idea, a contest. If we, you know, but the reason I didn't want to do it is because I didn't want to think that's like, hey, this is why we're doing this right now. But we do have a place where people can reach out. The challenge is, like, there's completely controlling contracts, right, that own your name, image, likeness, and your platforms that you already built in perpetuity, okay? That's an extreme example. That's big con. Then you have people who are like, hey, I have no experience. I've never done a show, but I really think I could do it well if you give me money. That's a situation where you'd be incurring all the risk. There is a middle ground. And I think what needs to happen is, if we do, I'm not going to be in the business of just creating shows from the ground up, but there are people out there who say, hey, look, I have a channel that's doing relatively well. I keep hitting the ceiling that is YouTube saying we need you to play this kind of ball. I'm suffering from the advertising rates, the sponsorship rates dropping across the board. And I can just be, you know, the gasoline on that fire to back them up. Really, why would you sign with a network if they don't have your back? That's the only reason to. Otherwise, be independent, right? What is the upside at that point? That's
The upside
all
is they
we
give
want
you a
to
bunch
be.
of infrastructure
Whatever subscribers you
and
generate-
shit that you don't have to worry about. What do you think a network does? What?
You keep. That's the only way I would be able to do it.
It's really publicity. These big networks get their faces seen, but if you can do it without that,
And
but
infrastructure.
I'm
Also
also
asking,
perpetuity.
is there an NDA? That's what people are asking.
Like
there is to everyone, just
there's
like,
a
you're
reason.
right, it's
There's a reason why Crowder has no host for Mug Club right now. There's a reason why his Mug Club is only an email list, because he has no infrastructure. He needs that infrastructure. Daily Wire is going to provide that infrastructure for him and give him this pay.
and a waiver when I came.
Yeah.
If you come into our studio, 'cause
I mean,
you
standard
can't-
business practice.
Yeah,
it's
you
a
can't.
standard
You
thing.
can't come in. You can't come in and tell people where the studio is.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah.
I mean,
We
you
have
know, I mean,
NDAs.
you guys have had
Yeah,
that.
of course.
Yeah.
If only for location, it would be worth it.
Yeah. Also because he walks around without pants half the time.
We have NDAs because we work on projects, and in order, it's really complicated. One of the simplest reasons is, like, we don't want you leaking information about us. Location is a good and obvious thing, but also projects we're working on cost a lot of money to do preliminary research. If someone then goes to a competitor or any other media company and says, here's what, you know, Timcast is working on and all their stuff, it just completely destroys the entire attempt at making a
course.
project.
Yeah.
Things like that.
Of course, and you can have people stealing, you know, creative content, right? I mean, that happens
some, like,
anyway.
super
This is
cursed,
the most
that's
common
why.
thing that happens, right? The big boys, they go, "Oh, that really works. Hey, let's do exactly that. Put $25 million behind it just
Why
to
is it so
promote
hard?
it."
It's because I
Now
activated
it's
every
ours.
curse on the map.
I was
Let's,
thinking about these.
we gotta go
Let
to
me mention
Super Chats.
perpetuity clauses really quick before we go to super chats, because you brought them up a couple times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dog nasty and need to be removed immediately from modern entertainment contracts,
Fair pound.
because deep fakes. They're going to be able to take someone's
Wait.
perpetuity face, deep fake it to make it look real, and have it say stuff that the person doesn't agree with.
By the time I'm dead and you're going to my mausoleum,
Yeah.
I'm going to be hawking Black Rifle fucking coffee.
Lord prevent it.
Let's go to super chats. We're gonna read
Sorry for
super
the F
chats
word.
from
like
you
it.
guys. A lot of questions for Crowder and stuff like that.
Okay, we'll stick around
And
for this too, fucking-
And then
We'll
at some
just-
point, I'm going to have to go to the restroom. The
you can
washroom.
go to that.
I'm gonna go too. I gotta pee.
All right, let Luke go. Then we'll
He's dodging. He's running away.
You can't cross streams.
There's multiple bathrooms here. Don't worry. There's one behind you. I'm gonna go out the door. Right there.
But I mean, look, if you guys want to go together, I have no issue with that. I mean, I'm
No, I know. You're
very
more.
liberal.
Yeah, you're
Progressive
anything
company.
wrong?
Promoted by YouTube now.
All right, let's read. All right.
We can co-opt the rainbow from God after Noah.
Smash the like button. Become a member at timcast.com. We're going to record the uncensored portion once we wrap up the live portion, which I can only imagine will be a lot crazier. But we're going to read some of these super chats. We have from Bren Ben. Remember, guys, everyone agrees that you need a shotgun. Even Biden is pro firing 2 blasts outside the house. Please, for the love of God, do not fire a shotgun into the air like Biden said.
Highly illegal.
Illegal. Yes.
Seriously.
Yeah.
I can't believe Biden incited violence. He incited people to commit crimes.
Yeah,
Just what you could
Well, that-
shoot it into the ground. Don't do that either. But that's the better of the two options.
He thinks it's like Elmer Fudd runner. Like
Yeah.
he's done it. Like, by the way, just it's the silliest. And that shell. I mean, sorry, that shell. That whatever it is, whether it's buckshot or whether it's a slug, has to come down at some point.
Aurora Isabella says, Steven is so hot.
Well, she's nearsighted.
or whichever part would make.
I mean,
it
I'm sitting
clear.
next here to Gerald. By the way, it's a little scary, like how giants. It's a land of Gerald, and then you saw Kevin there downstairs. My
Yeah.
friend, he's just like really. We have a lot of big people. We just went to a Japanese restaurant here nearby, like a Japanese steakhouse.
Yeah.
And all the reviews were like, the food is great, the service is terrible. We couldn't all fit in the booth.
It was difficult.
You're at that point where
You're a
everything's
very
like, it has
large
to be
man.
custom.
This has been my whole life,
I
though.
know.
I'm kind of used to it. I don't fit in.
When I shook your hand and met you met up as
did?
you were doing it.
Oh,
It was
yeah.
like, just gotta stay in character.
All right, here's
like where the
Kristen,
wild things
Kristen
are.
Baker says, will Crowder's company pay his creators guaranteed big money regardless of the revenues they bring in while
Okay,
they
good
let
question.
their freak flag fly?
Time out. I don't agree with the premise. Nobody said it was regardless of revenues you bring in. It just said it could not be tied to big tech monetization.
But that's what? Then how do you? Okay, it can't be tied to big tech monetization. So then, how do you expect them to bring in revenue? It's not tied to revenue, but it is tied to revenue because you're what?
And being on these platforms, if you're bringing in 5 subscribers versus 500,000, that's a much different thing.
Yeah.
And sponsors versus no sponsors, that's a much different thing. Nobody said that they couldn't make money, and nobody said Steven had to be given a guaranteed production contract.
No.
matter
Whoa,
what-
whoa. That's not the question. Now you're dodging the question. The question was, how do you expect to pay them if they're not making any money? And you just said, well, they're just not beholden to big tech monetization or demonetization. Yeah, but if that's their only revenue stream, then how do you pay them?
Money he brought in. They were completely and conveniently leaving that off of the table and saying, this is a lot of money, and if you lose anything, that's not going to happen.
Do
So-
a rev split
sorry.
with upside, right? Again,
Yeah.
this is what
Yeah.
happens in the entertainment industry. Every time, whether it's a band at a venue, right? You do a minimum guarantee, which is going to be lower, which mitigates your risk, or you get the gate. You do a rev split with upside. You see any upside there? Is there any
Zero.
is there any portion there that says, by the way, if you
It's
actually
the
do
first
it,
contract!
which is well over 300,000 people who said we're going.
It's
to
not
do
even
it.
it's not even a
If you
contract. I
actually
keep saying
do,
it's a contract.
hit that. You get to share in this.
Yeah,
Is there
they
any
never-
upside
they-
there?
they
There's
offered only
zero.
negatives.
It's 100% ownership. And by the way, they're the only ones who demanded 100% of merch revenue. That's not even standard. So 100% of merch. Hey, you can do the math right now. You just saw the sponsors. Sorry, you just saw the live numbers.
Yeah.
That's what sponsors know about. How much can you guess can be generated from a single sponsor with the kind of numbers? If you're doing 1.7, 1.9 million
Standard-
screens
what's-
per show for 35 minutes.
What's the standard rate? It's like
The point is, it's a lot.
yeah.
You don't have to actually
Yeah, but the point is
answer.
100% of sponsors, 100% of subscribers, 100% of merch revenue, zero upside, but
Let me tell
110%
you guys,
penalty. That's very different.
The premium brands charge like a $40 CPM.
Yeah.
And then what we found out 10 years ago was their view numbers were inflated because they were buying the rights to garbage network traffic views that don't matter.
Can
and
you believe
claiming
that
it was
the
a
Rumble
premium
numbers are
view.
again?
So you
Yeah.
know that what I'm talking about,
Yeah.
and you know it's a problem in our industry, right? And you know that then sponsors get
I think
churned
it's
and
fraud.
burned,
I think it's fraud.
Yeah.
and you know that it happens, right?
Yeah. So this was a big problem. Sponsors were like, the return isn't there, and they're wondering why they start laying all these people off from these digital media companies. It's like, look, man,
Yeah.
if the sponsor thinks they're buying gold standard view, but for every 10 views, 1 is gold standard and 9
Yeah.
is like clickbait garbage,
Right.
They're wasting money, and I think it's fraud. But
There
I'm
needs to be
I'm
some conservatives who are focusing on quality over quantity, right? You want one punch knockout power. You don't want to all. Some people can be volume punchers. Some people can be power hitters. You need to be able to allow for both. That's all.
We got a very important one. We got to read more.
Sure, go
sorry.
for it.
Northern Liberty Group says, can Steven just say one good thing about Canada? I'll take Alberta or anything. There are real conservatives and patriots up here, and we did have a rebellion against the Brits. It just failed.
That's a big ask.
Yeah, that's
That's a lot.
Now it is, but I will say this: a lot of people don't know bagels came through Montreal first.
Really?
Bagels?
Where'd they come?
Bagels.
Where from?
But
Well,
that's
yeah,
not a
obviously, I'm
good
not
thing.
saying it's original, but I'm saying it came through Montreal as opposed to New York. If not for Montreal, there would be no bagels in North America.
Well, that would be better.
That's our French connection.
Yeah. No, I will say this:
There'd be less
best restaurants in the world in Montreal, probably pound for pound. And there are a lot of great Canadians. We could probably get an uncensored version; it'll be boring here. But if you look at the Quebec separatism, a lot of that is very similar to the taxation without representation and a rugged sort of individualistic spirit.
Luke
But then they
perked
also
up.
wanted to have the language police. You know about that? La Ligue des Langues, where literally
the Spaghetti Gate. You know Spaghetti Gate?
is this about a restaurant or a diner?
Yeah, it was an Italian restaurant,
Yeah.
and spaghetti was spaghetti, and the language police said, why isn't it French?
That's not French. It's Calice, or like it's Italian. Like we don't care. Spell it
Right.
spaghetti with an e.
Yes. They said, put spaghetti in there, like, but there's no French for it, and they were
Right.
like, doesn't matter. You have to have it in French.
It was a language police. By the way,
Spaghetti
also
gate.
a lot of French Canadians horribly
Have you
racist.
seen the skit, the language police skit that went viral? It's 2 guys are in like an alley and they're like talking, and the cops walk up and they're like, "Hey, what are you doing?" And they're like, "What?" And like hands against the wall. They're speaking French. They're like, against the wall or whatever. I can't say. And you know,
I don't expect you to be trilingual.
No, but they put the guys up against the
I do
wall.
speak French, yeah.
And then they're frisking him, and then he's like, he pulls out a bag of weed and he goes, sorry, and he puts it back. And then he keeps going, and he goes, what's this? And he pulls out an English dictionary, and he goes, ha ha. He's like, that's not mine, I swear.
That sounds about right. You know, it's funny, actually, like, you talk about that. Like, no, I do speak French. It was actually, I learned to read and write French first. I spoke both. They thought I was learning disabled. They thought I was an idiot up until the 4th grade because I had to do, the rule in Canada, and it comes from something they call pure laine, which means pure wool, where they want pure French European blood. They don't necessarily do it anymore. And it ended up backfiring because a bunch of Haitians and Vietnamese would come in because, you know, they speak French. And they were like, Carlis, now we have all but they're not European French. They're black from Haiti. So they changed their laws. But the issue is if you have one parent born in Quebec, whether they're English or not, you have to go to French immersion schools. So it wasn't that I was that dumb. It's that I was having to learn geography, history, math in French and was falling behind.
It's not that hard. Come on.
Said, hey, if you do it as a temporary resident because your dad's American, this principle
is bullshit. I did this, okay? Now, I did get out of French immersion school because I didn't like French, but and I didn't have any friends, but my grades were okay. No, they weren't. I was always a bad student, but it's not because I was learning 2 languages, and I can speak French now. It's fine.
Really did probably save my educational career in grade school. 4th grade, they switched me to English. And then, you know, I made it to like a B- student, like which means that I won't be a genius, but I won't be a mass shooter, right in the middle of the pack. You never hear like, he was all right.
We'll try and get some more super chats. We have this one from Jeremy Higgins. Jordan Peterson's daughter made a video today talking about negotiating her father's contract with Daily Wire. She said Daily Wire only owns the content on the site for the length of the time of the contract, and afterward it returns to Jordan. I believe that sounds incorrect.
I don't know. I do know that Jeremy said these are the terms of everyone, and I do know what's in that contract, and I do know they wouldn't change it. That's all I know.
Jeremy said if we paid to produce it, we own it. That would mean that.
But they don't produce it. I produce it. Yeah. It's a licensing agreement.
Oh, that's
right?
interesting.
If they pay for it, they're the one producing it. A producer isn't the person who sits there and does the thing. A producer is the person who pays for the production.
All of the cost. If I were an employee, if that's a salary, sure. But if it's my product, does TriStar own? I don't know if Home Alone. I know Home Alone was Columbia and someone else. Does TriStar own Columbia's portion of that? If they both come in as production, you know this, right in the entertainment industry, it's very, very common.
Yeah, you would sign deals that go both ways. You could negotiate that, but they're movies, dipshit. This is not the same as your fucking. If you made a thing, so like Matt Walsh made his whatever the fuck shitty thing. What is a woman? Whatever. Of course, Daily Wire owns that. They paid for all of it. Now, Crowder, if you pay, you might be negotiating someone that you pay for something to produce it or whatever. Blah blah blah.
I'm in for production houses to come together. Does one get to say no? We own it. No. At that point, afterwards, it switches. Maybe you have an agreement. And we, by the way, that's something that we've worked into every contract that we've done. So I don't know what
this is a very, very important super
Gerald
chat.
probably knows better.
Oh, Jeremy mentioned that everyone has different contracts.
Okay.
That he does different ones.
This is very important from Daniel Marks.
He did say, though, these terms, the big tech terms, right? Again, this is just, these are demanded of all creators. He said that.
So just very important here. Daniel Marks says, Steven Crowder is the chaotic, good, high charisma barbarian in Dungeons & Dragons.
He thinks I'm charismatic? That's nice.
Is that
wild? Super charisma. Chaotic good for sure.
Is that good?
Like Robin Hood.
Oh.
Like willing to, like evil laws, willing to forego evil laws for the betterment of humanity.
I like the analogy of Robin, because people think Robin Hood was a socialist. No, Robin Hood was stealing from the people who overtaxed.
Yeah, he was stealing from the
gave
government.
back to the people. Yes.
You don't strike me as a barbarian, though.
It depends on what I have.
Maybe a barbarian.
Maybe what I have for dinner. Depends.
Loudmouth, like in the front lines, like I'm going to make noise to get it done.
No, I'm kind of a reluctant warrior.
We prayed a lot about this before we went down this road. Like it was agonizing. Like just make you sick kind of decisions because of course.
I'm gonna win this with
you
like
don't
all
wanna
the
have to
curse.
do this.
Jesus.
Charismatic. I would maybe you're a
easy.
paladin, except that for the chaos, paladins generally are.
Oh, no, I
awful,
should've done area.
but, I don't know. I'm just talking about.
I think I'm getting to the point where I can just stand still.
I mean, it all sounds about
The
right.
moment Ian became self-aware.
Let me read this one from Mason's mama. Tim is not asking the hard questions. Crowder lacks integrity. Name one creator Crowder launched. He has done the exact opposite. Not Gay Jared
based.
Sven.
They
Based.
were on the show
Oh my
early
God.
on. We've had plenty of people who work on the show and then move on. That happens across the board. I mean, I'm not. Again, you don't have. We used to talk about this. We used to have pride in like this super high retention rate. where no one would leave. But then we realized that like people, sometimes it's just not always the right fit. And people can go on and do something that they're more happy with. Again, we did a whole send-off with Not Gay Jerry. We've had other people, too, who've been on. Sometimes it's amicable, sometimes it's not. Sometimes there's issues. But in Not Gay Jerry's case, the guy left, and I wish the guy the best. He tweeted it out. So, again, this is the problem, right? This is
he tweeted it out. All fine. That's definitely not the. That's definitely not an NDA thing that you can.
It's going to happen no matter what. I'm calling it now, just like I called what was about to happen. And they're going to shift the narrative to something else, and they're going to rope other people in. And this is why people don't speak out.
That
it's
boss
why
right there will not die.
Don't run for office. Think about the Stormy Daniels, which, by the way, I have no idea with Donald Trump, but so many people came out and so many stories that were proven verifiably false. It's slinging mud. It's personal. It's not what you hear me do. This can all end. We all just pledge we're not going to do the enforcement of big tech. No one is perfect, least of all me.
At 9:10, I launched a poll. At 8 o'clock, I launched a poll.
What time is it? It's
It
like
is
you're going to this
9:45.
time warp in here.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's crazy, right? Who is right? 36 minutes ago, 62,000 votes. Crowder, 63%. Daily Wire, 17%, with 20% abstaining from the vote.
How long ago was that?
This was 36 minutes ago with
36, yeah.
62,421 votes.
I abstained.
Pretty big sample.
So
I don't think anyone's right.
well, that's the thing. I mean,
All different
there are
perspectives.
genuinely a lot of people who are like, you know, they may not like what the Daily Wire is doing, but they like that it's a cultural force in the other direction.
We need both. I do think we need these monolithic centralized systems in coordinates with decentralized content creators, and
Yeah,
then eventually
but
they'll start
so
licensing
less.
work and stuff. And
I understand. Just don't say you're fighting big tech.
But you made a good point,
all.
Gerald, about
Not you. I'm talking about people
if
who are doing it.
in 10 years it could be
Jiu-jitsu.
solidified that there's no competition, and then they go
Exactly.
the other direction.
Yep.
Let me read this one. because
What is
I have to
happening on my
agree.
screen?
Kid Truck says, "Don't give money often, but the quote, 'We know what's in the box killed me. Nearly choked on my coffee, a Crowder mug. Hope eventually the hostilities can settle, and Louder with Crowder can show that standing on principle can be profitable." The what's in the box was I wrote on time.
Johnny Boy, who you met downstairs. That was this. Well, that was the hardest I'd ever seen him laugh. I went to the second artist.
You couldn't
It was
sell the shirt.
the second artist. The second artist is when, again, I'm not insulted, but when Ben was saying, like, you know, Steven Crowder betrayed and he's a piece of shit and all this stuff, and like, and I have to tell you about Birch Gold. He was laughing so hard when that happened. It was the box comment, and that was the second hard. I'm like, John, what are you laughing at? He's like, they had to do live reads. And like
During
you do
the
have to-
rant.
during the rant.
That was the thing. It was the ranting on how bad
Let me tell
this
you
is,
about
and then-
yeah. And there's nothing wrong. Again, there's nothing wrong with people who do radio on
No.
TV, right? Who
Yeah,
do that,
that's right.
and do the, there's nothing. But again, you know that's not. I can't do 4 or 5 commercials the way we do them each day.
No.
Whether it's a good
What is happening?
Whether it's a whole film series, you know, Walther. We've done a parody of every major horror film, and it's, you know, horror films don't work when you have a Walther. We can't do that and do it 5 times a day, and it fell into deaf ears. I'm like, look, we're just saying, hey, more people pay far more for one spot. Just let us keep doing the sketches, the kind of material that people have invested in, and this is the model. Well, there needs to be. I'm not saying that can't be a model, though you can't enforce big tech. I'm saying that there can't only be one model for everyone, because we're not all that way. And then we bitch about how the power that Hollywood has because they allow creatives the ability to be creative, and it really is. Look, there is more diverse, and I'm not just talking about diversity as far as, you know, hitting the right demographics. I'm talking about people doing different kinds of content. We're the only ones doing what we do, and I would love to see 10 more people doing it. And I see it as a huge win that Ben was streaming on Rumble today. Huge.
Yeah.
And I would, if he comes over on Rumble, and by the way, not just Rumble, but do both, and just cleans our clock, I hope there's 10 more of him and 10 more of me.
You talking about Ben Shapiro?
this is
on
a-
that?
Oh, it's great.
I
It
want
was
to read
great.
this.
I'm glad to see it, and I still would love to see. Just don't say you're fighting big tech when you enforce
Okay, I did
big
it.
tech
I
money.
beat a level on full curse.
David Minier says, "I'm happy to spend $100 to tell Crowder he's a whiny baby. Daily Wire won this fight. Wasn't even close." You know.
He spent $100,
Can't
Yeah.
change.
Yeah.
and then you made that money.
Yes.
That's a win.
Good for you.
75% of it or something.
Hey, look,
$70. YouTube took 30.
Good for you.
Or more. We take a lot from the super chats.
So that should change too with these platforms. You should
Hey,
be getting
look,
all
look.
the revenue, all the super chat.
How do you pay for the infrastructure? I'm just gonna run. Dude, it's so stupid. Yeah, let me just run all this infrastructure and stuff for that for people, and they get all the revenue.
Revenue should be going directly to you.
You know, when I read the one where it said I'm not asking hard questions, I'm not here to ignore people who have criticisms and want their voices to be heard. I want to make sure there's a substantive conversation, and I read if people are happy
got
or
him.
unhappy.
Sure.
Thomas says Brett Cooper, the youngest employee, said she doesn't have the demonetization penalties. This seems to invalidate Crowder's point.
Candace said that she recognized the clauses in her own contract. And Jeremy said that they are in the contract. And this is the one thing, they've never addressed it beyond, well, we have to make money. But again, how are you making money off of penalizing someone for being demonetized when they haven't been monetized for years when they come in? So it would be one thing if everyone said it. They said at the top, no, this is for everybody. Candace said, I recognize those clauses in the contract. Brett Cooper saying it's not. If that's the case, great. But
Okay, he said it was for everyone because it's the bog standard thing they send to every single fucking creator as a game starter. All its XP gain, experience gems turn into exploding projectiles. All treasure chests contain at least 3 items. What the fuck? I don't even know if I want that. I don't even know if I want this. We're just gonna go with the revive one for now.
that was a sticking point here. There was there was no offer after that. And it just, if someone said, hey, sure, we can change this, great. That's not what was said.
Yeah.
And you saw the transcript. You know it wasn't said. You know it was, this is how we do it.
Did you guys have access to all your Mug Club subscribers and like the number of them and all that before you went into talks? Did you have that data? Because I would have based my entire contract off of that, not how long are you going to be monetized.
That was
on
our
YouTube.
biggest. That was our biggest problem. Was that we didn't have a real good way. That's why we had to launch Mug Club Forever, is to make sure that we had everybody who wanted to, it was in Mug Club or wanted to sign up for it, and we could reach out to those people.
It's industry standard where they don't tell you, and they don't even necessarily have to tell you your number.
But it doesn't have to be. It doesn't need to be.
But
that
that's why I showed, Tim some numbers there off the record where you can do an estimate. And absolute baseline minimum is 300,000.
That's because Blaze had to, on the contract with Blaze said they're going to keep that data, and so only they knew. Is that what?
Well, I can address that. We're not going to address necessarily specific terms that were in that contract.
Because if you sign something that says you won't talk about it, it don't.
Yeah,
it's not the case with the term sheet.
Exactly. Right.
So I'll make the claims. It looks like that happened. I don't know.
Well, you can enter in your email at Mug Club Forever so we don't lose touch with you. But we had a good idea based on. Gerald, you can.
I think
this is the thing, right? This is the problem with contracts, and I understand there's a big difference between an NDA and you're asking. It is. I will say this: it is industry standard. I don't know of any, except for Rumble tweeted that out. I don't know how it works with locals, where they said I think they said if you generate subscribers, you can take your subscribers.
They're yours to begin with. They're never the company's, from what I understand.
There. But industry standard is it's opaque by design.
Yeah, I think the only company that can actually offer the deal that you keep your members is Rumble.
Yeah.
So I think Rumble's doing a bunch of deals with people, and I'm pretty sure those deals are while we have you signed, the revenue comes to us.
Mm-hmm.
When the term ends, the membership revenue is yours.
Yeah.
It's a part of your account that you own, and we've no longer licensed it. For these other companies, there's no way to effectively take a portion of your members and put them on a different website. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, that's also what you're talking about with this sort of decentralized tool that you're discussing, right? It sort of solves that problem a little bit.
Yeah, the front end part of it. Like Rumble, the great thing is it's a back end service where it hosts. Like Daily Wire, I don't think they have a host. Do they host their own data? You guys?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah, so that's challenging. If you're just a front end facility that you're just kind of making money off the personalities themselves, not the actual data. But if you control the data, then you can give it back to people. And
I want to try and just read as many as we can. We the People says I was abstain in the poll earlier, but the second half I voted now in favor of Steven Crowder fight back. Yeah, so this is interesting. When the story first broke, we did a poll. 85% Crowder is right. Very small percentage in favor of the Daily Wire. We didn't have the abstain in it. Candace Owens comes on the show. It then dropped down to like 55 to 60% Crowder is right, 40 or so percent Daily Wire.
It's funny that nobody.
We did the show today. Obviously, you guys directed a lot of your fans to the show, so there's a big swing in your favor. But the second poll more dramatically swung in your favor.
Well, so did the biggest, most powerful conservative network in the world, according to how they their press releases, Daily Wire. I would assume that when their people come on, it would be the same thing. I shouldn't even. Here's the thing. I shouldn't even be in the same ballpark. What you guys are saying, like, hey, how do you think? I'm a comic. I'm a bum. These other
okay. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care anymore. This is fun. Crowder is no longer saying anything new. It's just a repeat on repeat on repeat on repeat on repeat on repeat. Just boring. I still think that there doesn't seem like there's anything wrong with their contract. Again, the main reason why is because they didn't do. Crowder didn't offer any solutions. besides like a total bullshit solution that is totally fantastical and doesn't seem like it would ever work, which is the oh yeah, we'll just give we just give people money even if they get demonetized. Which the great question is how do you pay people if they aren't generating you any value at all? So I don't know. How do you do it? How do you do it? How do? Does inflict damage? Inflicted damage. Let's banish this hollow heart. It's really cringe. But yeah, anyways, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. It's probably going to YouTube. Love you. Appreciate you.